Right, I'd like to call tonight's regular governing body meeting to order for August 26, 2026. We will start off with the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councillor Cassett, salute to the New Mexico flag led by Councillor Fagali, and invocation and remembrances led by Councillor Barrett. Please stand as you're able.
Good evening and welcome, everyone. If you want to just close your eyes for a minute. And feels like it's been kind of a tumultuous couple past weeks. The first thing that comes to mind for me is some of our friends and neighbors who have disappeared because of ICE activity in our community. And I know we're doing all that we can and standing strong with our communities to support these people. Families who've been ripped apart. And I know that we have mutual aid agencies right now reaching out. And a lot of us have been posting about that online. I know the city has also been sending out information on that. So whatever we can do to support our friends, our neighbors, our coworkers who have been going through this situation, everything that we can do or donate to really helps. And then, some of us are probably fans, but Dolly Parton passed away, and she was an amazing, inspirational woman, and all she did in her music and her philanthropy that really stands out to me. The Imagination Library, I know she's given out millions and millions of books and really was a huge supporter of early literacy because her dad was illiterate. I know she was part of funding the COVID vaccine and so many other amazing things about her. So she's a real inspiration, and so I think about like, hey, in a world full of like Donald Trump and tech bros, we have Dolly Parton. So we need more Dolly Partons in the world. And that's all I have to say. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor. Are there any remembrances? Just want to take a moment to honor Randy Lupe. He was a deployed responder supporting the Frijoles fire, and he experienced a medical event on Sunday and unfortunately passed away. He was originally from the San Carlos Apache Indian Reservation, and he was a U.S. Wildland Fire Service temporary emergency support crew member on the San Carlos camp crew. So let's keep Mr. Lupe in our thoughts. Councilor Garcia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I did want to remember and recall to mind a friend of mine who passed away recently. His name is Larry Shishel or Lawrence. And early on in my younger days as a volunteering with the Knights of Columbus and other church organizations at Santa Maria de la Paz, Larry and his wife Royanne were very instrumental in helping me as a young leader to guide the organization through a lot of things. And so I just want to remember him. He was an amazing man. Really, really loved the fourth degree of the Knights of Columbus. And my condolences go out to his wife, Royanne, who is still with us. And God bless you guys. Thank you.
Are there any other remembrance? Seeing none, let's just take a moment to honor those who we've lost and anybody in our community needing support. Thank you, everybody. Madam City Clerk, can we get a roll call, please?
Yes, Mayor, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Councillor Barrett,
Here.
Councillor Bustamante,
Here.
Councillor Cassett,
Here.
Councillor Castro,
Present.
Councillor Chavez,
Here.
Councillor Faulkner,
Here.
Counselor Figali,
Here.
Counselor Garcia,
Here.
Mayor Garcia,
Present.
Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Next up is approval of the agenda. Is there any changes from staff?
Yes, there is, Mayor. Item 9H is going to be pulled for discussion because it did not make it onto the Finance Committee agenda, so it didn't go through the full committee process. And then item 10A is removed entirely from the agenda by staff. The trip will be canceled.
Approve as amended. Second.
Okay. Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? There are none. Madam City Clerk, can we get a roll call vote, please?
Yes, Mayor. Counselor Barrett,
Yes.
Counselor Bustamante,
Yes.
Counselor Cassett,
Yes.
Counselor Castro,
Yes.
Counselor Chavez,
Yes.
Counselor Faulkner,
Yes.
Counselor Figali,
Yes.
Counselor Garcia,
Yes.
motion passed.
Okay. Next up is approval of the consent agenda. Madam City Clerk, what items may have been pulled?
Mayor, item 9R was pulled by Counselor Figali, and item 9S was pulled by Counselor Figali and Counselor Cassett.
Okay, would any,
to approve.
okay,
Second.
we've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Madam City Clerk, can we get a roll call vote, please?
Yes, sir. Counselor Bustamante,
Yes.
Counselor Cassett,
Yes.
Counselor Castro,
Yes.
Counselor Chavez,
Yes.
Counselor Faulkner,
Yes.
Counselor Figali,
Yes.
Counselor Garcia,
Yes.
Counselor Barrett.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Okay, next item on the agenda, please, Madam City Clerk.
The next item on the agenda is presentations. Item 8A is a presentation for the Midtown Infrastructure Update. And here to present is Carly Venditti, Metropolitan Redevelopment Director.
Hello, hello. Floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the governing body. I'm just going to set this up really quickly and we'll jump to it. I will do my best to stay under 10 minutes. So thank you, Mayor, members of the governing body, for the opportunity to present this update on the Midtown infrastructure. Let me right-size this and we'll get started. We won't get down to the business of each single item or aspect of the infrastructure, but we'll cover quite a bit as well as the phasing opportunities that we have as a city. We received a couple questions during the GO bond vote this last meeting discussing that $77 million amount that you've heard me mention before. When we look at this $77 million, we can break it down a couple different ways. At 90% completion, I want to make it clear that we have a 20% contingency baked in, which is relatively conservative because we want to maintain that we're being cautious. And we have seen a lot of escalation in prices across our projects for the city, as well as even on Midtown, with our most recent being new signage going up in price due to the Strait of Hormuz blocking some of our aluminum capacity. So we couldn't get 9% of the world's aluminum because the Strait of Hormuz was closed, and that affected Midtown Santa Fe. So keeping that in mind, 20% is pretty high, but at 90% completion, we're doing pretty well. I want to thank all of the staff that has participated. This effort to design infrastructure began before I started with the MRA, and I'm happy to carry the torch and bring in all the team members necessary. That being said, I'd love to shout out Scott in the back for his help with all the parks, as well as our other colleagues from Public Works facilities who attend these meetings every single week. They go from an hour, 2 hours, sometimes 3 hours, depending on what we're discussing. So we break this down, $77 million to $54 million for the rights of way. There's a built-in assumption here of utilities and permeable pavers, which I will refer to as pave tank. That's a trademark name, but it's just pretty easy to say versus permeable pavers every time. So utilities and pave tank are built into the $54 million assumption at $12.3 million. That's pretty high price point because it allows us to use Midtown to its highest and best use. And we won't see the same amount of on or surface level ponding, on-site ponding that we do in other developments throughout the city. So this allows us to store water under the ground and then use it for irrigation, as well as push it off into other arroyos or safe places for runoff when large storm events happen. So $54 million, a base assumption within that for $12.3 million, with parks costing $23 million. This brings us the question, how will we pay for all of this? And I really appreciated the conversation or the preview of this conversation at our prior meeting. Some of our potential sources include tax increment financing funds that come through a TIF resolution that our lovely colleagues in legislative services are drafting for us already. We get to bring that forward as a next step to our county and state partners. We will give them an assumption of what we would like in the way of their increment, but they ultimately have to give us that increment. If they decide they'll be bringing forth 50 or up to 75% of their values of their GRT. So we have to convince them that our intentions are aligned, and we have already briefed Finance Director Monica Maestas on our assumptions and which partners we will be approaching once we get that legislation, and then who we go to after the county, which is tax and rev. So we have our path forward. We're working with SB Friedman. We've also applied for a pre-application for local economic development funding. That's LEDA for short. There is a municipal arm there, and we have been in contact with our regional rep, as well as Secretary Black. Secretary Black also recommended that we apply for the New Mexico Economic Development Site Readiness Fund. We're moving through that process with their consultant, parallel to everything else. Next, we have state capital outlay, which we will always go back to the state. Since we have used quite a bit of our capital outlay already, it is encumbered. We have a little bit less than $1 million left to spend in that capital outlay. We've shown them that we can move money and make an impact while activating Midtown. The last two include land disposition revenue. The difficult part is that I must continue the negotiation of the disposition of property in good faith. Without a plan or a phasing option for this infrastructure, it's very difficult to negotiate. And then finally, there's the EDA Public Works and Economic Adjustment Assistance Grant, and that's a federal fund. The difficult part about federal funding is that our plans would need to be upgraded or federalized. Right now, they have the plan set required to have inspectors at the state and local level. To federalize is to bring in federal inspectors that have even more strict requirements for plan sets. That would cause a change order and a design implementation. It costs us a little bit extra money. So anything on the federal level would need to be more than $10 million to make it worth our while. Moving into the infrastructure components. When we talk about the $54 million, we're talking about the roadways, the landscaping along those roadways, the green stormwater infrastructure below those roadways, then water, our landscaping, as well as the pedestrian and bike infrastructure, both which are grade separated to protect our most vulnerable users. Our design team along the way, they've been fantastic. It includes Wilson and Company work as our landscape architects and WSP as our owner's rep. WSP is very familiar with the city of Santa Fe. They work with our facilities and public works team, and they've dovetailed really well with this project. We owe a lot of our success so far to them as they help us with our DDA negotiations, as well as telling us about best practices throughout the Southwest and the country. So this is where we get into the fund phasing options. Each phasing option, like I said, includes the $12.3 million for GSI, all utilities, water, wastewater, electric, you name it, it's underground in a joint utility trench. It always will have the $12.3 million because we only want to trench once. We want to ensure that trenching once. And we also need to keep in mind our performance bond or guarantee from whether that be an insurance company or an underwriter of some sort, that our contractor will fulfill the contract and all of the different requirements we have contracted them to do. Phase one is $54 million. That is all the roads, all the rights of way, down to each little irrigation meter and spigot to water the trees and connect to our underground pave tank. This is the recommendation that I will make tonight, that we move forward with phasing option one because it helps us dispose of all of the parcels and it puts off the parks. As we move through the rest of these phasing opportunities, you'll see how there are trade-offs as well as some lost opportunities along the way. This is a pretty high number at 54 million. It has a 20% contingency built in, which is just about 12 million. When we get to phasing option 2, you'll see that we get to a more a la carte version. You have the base assumption of 12.3 million, and then each roadway after that you add on includes each individual component. So for example, we take out Alumni Drive 2 and 3, as well as Alumni Drive 4. In those cases, we just get down to 48 million. It's not a huge cost savings, but it's not everything we need to do. Almost every single lot would be served by utilities in this case. It supports all of our exclusive negotiation agreement projects right now. However, it's not saving us enough to really make a difference, and that's $6 million. Our final phasing option is just Midtown Calle Central connection. This is just the middle of the campus, bringing all of our utilities up through the center, what we refer to it as the center spine and around the central plaza. What we would need to do to stay in compliance or support our ENAs is add those a la carte roads. Some of our most excited and quick moving projects include the Santa Fe Innovation Hub, Blue Mesa Center for the Arts, HomeWise and their 74 townhome unit project. Those would need additional support and additional roadways in order for them to have a connection or a stub out to their property line. So in order for the Santa Fe Innovation Hub to get a certificate of occupancy, we would need to add on Midtown C2. So that's Midtown Road C, the second portion, and that itself costs about $2.86 million to add on. Like I said at the beginning of the phasing options, I would recommend that we hold off on the parks. To hold off until phase 2 allows us to get the disposition fee for all of the parcels and to move on that when we have tax increment to help us finance and fund other opportunities. The parks include a lot of different components here. The Central Park technically is about 1.7 acres, closer to 2. It has a central portion here that you see in the left rendering, as well as a linear portion right outside of Benilde, where Santa Fe Innovation Hub is currently located. And those areas will have landscaping. They won't just go without, but it wouldn't have the full park build out until phase 2, including the structure you see here for future events. Arroyo Park is about 5.9 acres. It's a pretty intense park because it holds many components, including a food forest, a discovery play wash area for GSI, the playground equipment of varying sizes and styles for kids of all ages and abilities, and it also includes a sports field. So when we talk about 5.9 acres, it's the more expensive park of the two. Like I said, phase 2, both parks, about $23 million. Parks are a little bit prettier and easier to fund. People like to go to ribbon cutting ceremonies for parks. And as we get other sources as an agency, we can explore other ways to fund that. So that's the conclusion of my presentation. I can go back to any and all of the slides. Mr. Mayor, to field questions.
Thank you so much. Any questions from governing body members? Councilor Cassett.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you so much, Kat, for being here. And excited to get this presentation. We've been looking at it for a while. So forgive me if I missed this, but are there timelines attached to the different phases? Because in my brain, I'm thinking if we go for option one, I feel like that may save us money in the long run because we know we're experiencing so much inflation. We're seeing cost of construction go up. And so overall, that feels like that would be a more intelligent financial investment. But I'm also curious if that means that we are building out the entire infrastructure of Midtown on a faster timeline.
Mr. Mayor, Councilor Cassett, I did not include a timeline because we are funding dependent. We're still waiting on a lot of our simultaneous efforts to pay off. So when we have the pre-application in for the LIDA, we haven't heard back from the state yet. We applied for up to $40 million, which is the cap, but will they give us $40 million? If It would be an amazing world if they were so kind and generous. However, we've also been having the conversations for some time about TIF. We're trying to get that enacted as soon as possible and talk to those partners. So it's also dependent on their timeline.
So does that mean that what the option that we wind up going with, is it not only dependent on governing body preference and recommendations, but we may be forced to do option 3 because we don't have funding in time to do option 1? Am I understanding that correctly?
Mayor Garcia, Councilor Cassett, that is correct. Yes. And we're working with our procurement staff right now to work from a request for information to RFP process, because at a certain point, we want to drum up vendor support and have a warm handoff no matter which phasing option we choose. So between 90 and 100%, that's the great time for contractors to ask questions, point out little flaws that we haven't seen in our echo chamber. However big it may be with all of our staff and consultants, we still want to know what we haven't considered.
Okay, wonderful. And then in terms of land disposition revenue, so we talk about, potential revenue coming in. I know there was a lot of discussion how infrastructure, parks, potentially were a bargaining chip as we are dealing with some of the DDAs. Is that still something you are exploring, as we're making these deals with some of these developers that want to come in saying, we're willing to do this if you're willing to, build our park?
Mayor, Councilor Cassett, when it comes to the Midtown Master Plan, it didn't contemplate that sort of negotiation for parks or other public utilities. It was said in the master plan that our private developers would take from the main stump. So they would take the stub out and pay for the horizontal infrastructure to their site.
Mhm.
But we are seeing that in the case of Santa Fe Innovation Hub, they're willing to put the utilities in across Midtown Road C and just rely on us for the actual roadway itself because they want to move that quickly.
Well, that's exciting to hear. Do we need to make an amendment to that master plan in order to allow more flexibility for these potential opportunities?
Mr. Mayor, Councilor Cassett, that's a great question. And you gave the capacity through the Metropolitan Redevelopment Plan, through that appendix, for our Metropolitan Redevelopment Commission to make some of those amendments along with our Planning and Land Use Department. So we're identifying the path forward for that sort of amendment. We'll definitely take that into consideration as we move forward with those amendments.
Okay. And then last question, you mentioned that there's trade-offs, essentially pros and cons for each. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Mr. Mayor, Councilor Cassett, of course, yes. So when we look at the disposition of property, it's better to have a phasing option or at least a plan set forward by this governing body and the administration of what we would like to do for which phase, right? So I can tell our developers, go ahead and turn your focus to another project nearby, right? If you're creating housing for the community, and you can come back to us at this time during this quarter of this year, and we can get started with your horizontal and then vertical development.
Got it. Okay. Thank you so much. Really, really appreciate it.
And Mike, I don't know who's in the back on IT, if we can have the presentation taken down. There we go. Thank you. Councilor Garcia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Director Vendetti. I had similar questions to Councilor Cassett in regards to infrastructure, and I know during the process the planning and the master plan and all of this, the city responsibility was infrastructure. And that's a big portion of getting anything moving on this property. And we've seen that with the Innovation Hub, and we've seen that with other organizations who are like, we're building, but come on, guys, where's our park? So one of the big reasons at one point when there was a disposition of the property to them, I raised questions about cost of property. And they're getting a great deal. They're bringing a lot. But when you have the build out of the infrastructure where people can just tap in, because we've always been developer driven, but in this case, we're not, because we're the developer. So I tend to lean on the side of, let's get this going, because if we want this to move, I mean, you've got to have the ability for people to tie into the infrastructure and access to their properties with proper roadways and curb cuts and you name it. And that's what makes this a beast, a piece of property. And so, I mean, I guess my question would just go back similar to Counselor Cassett's in regards to once this is all built out, which hopefully it's not 20 years from now. Does some of the property that still can be sold off give it a greater value to us? That we can sell at a higher market rate?
Mr. Mayor, Counselor, that's exactly it. Right now, in our early appraisals, we see appraisals for as is at about $7 a square foot, which is extremely low to what our comparable market rates are across the city. Most of these other lots have utilities direct for the hookup, and they are at the right capacity for electric, water, and wastewater that they need to build out to the highest and best use. In this case, we still have old defunct buildings that have some asbestos remediation required. So we're going to use that GEO bond funding, if we get it, according to the voters, fingers crossed, to demolish and remediate that land as necessary. We could see prices upward of $10, $12, $15 a square foot once we continue with this infrastructure and activation.
Thank you. And again, I just, the timeline, that's what concerns me the most because of our process and having to go out for bonds and how long does that take? And seems like things move so slowly, and that's my biggest concern with this because it is a great opportunity. And again, I do see the overall economic impact once everything is done and the asset to our city overall. So those are mostly my comments, but I really feel that, I mean, let's get the ball rolling with this because we we can't stand to be sitting here and piecemealing things anymore. Time to get going. Thank you.
Anybody else? Counselor Faulkner.
So if a lot has changed in capital outlay at the state, but I do think there's still the statewide capital outlay fund. And that fund can pull down tens of millions of dollars and not hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I've talked to the mayor about this. If that fund still exists, we can prove that this location is a regional hub, especially with the innovation hub for Sandia and Los Alamos. And if we can prove that as a city, there's an opportunity to get a lot more funding, like bigger pieces of funding for infrastructure through the statewide capital outlay fund. It's not on anybody's radar usually because it's regional funding, but I do think in this case, this could be, or there is a case to be made that this would be a regional funding opportunity. And I think if we can look into that, Cav, that would be awesome. I'm willing to help. And I think we can, if you go the ICIP route, you're going to get a max $1 million per project. But if you go the statewide capital outlay fund, you're looking at, you can get as much as $90 million. And so not that we can get that much. I'm just saying that that's the kind of money we're talking about in the statewide capital outlay funding. So I would love to meet with you and talk to you about it and see if we can get the ball rolling on that before this session. And we can then look to that to help get us an infrastructure lift. There's also money at NMFA that is like 0.01% interest loans around infrastructure and some other there's multiple funding channels that we could access at the state. And so I'd love to meet with you and talk about that as well.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Counselor. I would be happy to meet with you to discuss those.
Any other comments? Counselor Pagali.
Thank you, Mayor. Director Vendetti. These are options. Are these options that you are hoping to get an answer on, or are they just options that exist?
Mayor, Counselor, these options currently exist, right? I don't have enough feedback from our other irons in the fire, so to speak, to say we need action this evening and direction. So I appreciate that clarification.
Thank you.
Anything else? Thank you, Cav. Appreciate the update. Okay, let's move to the next item on the agenda, please, Madam City Clerk.
Next item on the agenda is 9H. This is a request for approval of a construction contract with San Isidro Permaculture Inc. for on-call landscape management services in the total amount of $4 million for a 4-year term. And here to speak is the Parks and Open Space Project Manager 3, Scott Overly.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and councilors. Unfortunately, we had a little mistake on this packet, and we were able to make the first Public Works Committee meeting and tonight's meeting. Somehow it did not get onto the Finance meeting. There are other 2 packets that went through at the same time based on the similar contract requests. And so I'm here to talk or answer any questions regarding that.
So just to clarify, this has already gone through Public Works and Utilities,
It went through Public Works and Utilities, yes.
and so it met the requirement to stay on consent. It got pulled by staff just because it didn't go to Finance.
That is correct, sir.
Okay, any questions from governing body members?
Is there a legal requirement for it to go through finance?
It's my understanding, Mr. Mayor, Councilor Faulkner, it's my understanding that if we don't get through 2 of the committee meetings, we need to talk about it this evening. So it needs to go through 1 and have discussion during the governing body meeting.
Yeah, so this is for the city attorney. A lot of things that have to do with contracts have to, by code, go through the finance committee. Is this the case in this instance? I'm pretty certain if it's over a certain dollar amount, it has to go through the finance committee. It's not about just passing one committee, like in some spaces in the code, any financial matters have to go before the finance committee if they're over a certain dollar amount.
The code doesn't require items to move through the finance committee over a certain dollar amount. The code does require the governing body to approve contracts over the city manager's authority to go to the governing body for approval. So don't know that this is a requirement to go to finance committee in order to stay.
And what about the charter?
The charter doesn't speak that with that level of specificity.
Okay, I just wanted to double check that we weren't skipping a step that would set us back in the future.
Okay, any other questions? What's the will of the body?
Move to approve.
Second.
And we got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Or none, Madam City Clerk, Councilor Castro.
Sorry, very quickly, and I apologize. I think we all have talked about wanting to build our ranks in parks in particular and not use contractors. So I just wanted to put it out there one more time. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Or none, Madam City Clerk, can we get a roll call vote, please?
Certainly, Mr. Mayor. Councilor Cassett,
Yes.
Councilor Castro.
Yeah.
Councilor Castro.
That was a yes, sorry. Yes.
Thank you. Councilor Chavez,
Yes.
Councilor Faulkner,
Yes.
Councilor Figali,
Yes.
Councilor Garcia,
Yes.
Councilor Barrett,
Yes.
Councilor Bustamante.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Mr. Mayor.
Mr.
Thank you,
Overly.
councilors.
Next item on the agenda, please, Madam City Clerk.
Next item on the agenda is 9R. This is a request for approval of the fiscal year 2027 internal audit plan. And here to speak is Deputy City Manager Andrea Phillips and Haley Garcia of Baker Chili.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the governing body. This item was pulled. I did get a chance to talk to Councillor Fagali. Wanted to just give you a little bit of background about what the internal audit function is before I turn it over to Haley to talk about our internal audit plan. So the internal audit function and that ordinance is in Chapter 2, Administration of the Municipal Code, and it contemplates governmental oversight to ensure greater efficiency and transparency. This can be promulgated through an internal audit department where we would actually have staff administer this, or what we have done is utilize a contractor over the last several years. Baker Tilly was selected through a competitive process to serve as our internal auditor. And each year we set up an internal audit plan. This was presented to the audit committee and the finance committee on Monday. So this specifies the different projects, which include performance audits, looking into city processes, and they also have the ability to engage in special audits or financial audits. Not to be confused with our financial auditor, who is looking at the city's comprehensive and preparing the city's comprehensive annual financial report. So I'm happy to share additional details on that, but Chapter 2 kind of lays out how these reports are to be delivered. On Monday night, the Finance Committee heard the recruitment process project, which was one of the projects that was authorized under the FY26 audit plan. So before you tonight are the projects that we're recommending for this next fiscal year. So unless there's any questions, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Haley Garcia from Baker Tilly.
Hello, thank you for having me tonight. I will share my screen. Okay. Is that coming up okay?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay. I'll go through, this is the presentation that we did for both the audit committee and the finance committee when we presented this. I'll give a quick overview of what internal audit is. So we were hired as a contractor for the city to fulfill that internal auditor role required by the city ordinance. Under this, we look at a broad range of areas from risks, internal controls. We look at performance, so areas that could be improved in terms of efficiency or effectiveness. We compare city practices to best practices and to other peer cities. And in some cases, we do look at compliance, whether it's at state or city laws or whether it's at the federal level or internal policies. Just to give you a little bit of a picture or a snapshot of how our internal audit plan goes down. So there are various components as we put together the audit plan each year. They are based on a few different inputs. So one is an enterprise risk assessment that we presented to the governing body about 2 years ago, where we looked at a wide range of risks across the entire city, as well as an entity-wide internal control review. And from those two larger city-wide projects, we came up with priorities to look at or to dive deeper over the course of internal audit each year. In addition, we take feedback from both the audit committee, from management, from what we're learning about the city as we go, and for changes in priorities. We look at a wide range of departments, citywide functions, specific risk areas, depending on the given year. The audit plan for fiscal year 27 covers some operational control and overall project planning areas. So the first is a grants management operational review. Grants are currently managed decentralized across the city. So looking at the different functions for those programs and departments that are managing grants to identify opportunities to streamline, improve efficiency, address controller compliance issues, etc. The second area is a cash management internal audit. There are various departments and programs that collect cash or other forms of payments across the city. Many of them are operating on outside POS systems outside of the city's ERP system. So looking at those manual integrations that have had to happen and look for potential control risks and are they properly mitigated? Are there opportunities to improve or enhance the control environment or enhance how financial reporting between those various areas is coming up to the citywide? Third is the capital improvement program assessment. Right now, there is not a robust process for CIP planning across the city. Right now, there are wish list and project listings that are then brought forward each year. But the city currently doesn't have a comprehensive CIP program and framework for evaluating what are the projects, where do they fall in terms of priority, what are our preventive maintenance and ongoing maintenance that needs to be performed, and how are we going to fund each of these priorities over the next 1, 3, 5 years. And so looking at what is currently in place and making right size recommendations to take the city into the future as it relates to its CIP program. Those are the 3 main projects we plan to tackle over this fiscal year. We are also, based on recommendations from both management and the audit committee, implementing a follow-up process where we will provide an independent and objective assessment of what is the current status of all prior findings to make sure that that accountability model is in place and that the audit committee and others are receiving regular updates throughout the year on the status of prior findings. Last, we are supporting the management in policy and procedure documentation, which is something that we did this last fiscal year and has proven helpful to help get some of those key functions documented. And then, of course, ongoing program management, presenting to the various committees and addressing consulting needs that come up. I will stop sharing and open it up to questions.
Councillor Fagali, you pulled the item. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for that explanation. My main concerns that hopefully this addresses is this going to help us with our internal processes, with land use, with hiring, with grants administration, with grants writing? Is this going to give recommendations for those, or is this just sort of assessing what we currently have?
Mr. Mayor, Councillor Fagali, members of the governing body, this won't touch land use specific regulations, but certainly
Like
process.
permitting is more what I'm thinking.
Not permitting specifically. This is more internal processes that touch all of the different aspects of city functions, right? So HR, a lot of areas within HR, finance, certainly, internal controls for cash management, grants administration, things like that. So not a specific project related to permitting, though. I think maybe what you're referring to is the permit processing new module. Is that maybe where you're going with that integration of the cash handling with that? Yes, so that is a project that even outside of the Baker Tilly engagement, we are currently engaging with the Land Use and Development Department on how to integrate our payment processing portal with the new OpenGov system. So that is happening in parallel. But this project with the POS systems and looking at cash handling across the city is more inclusive of all of the different ways that we take in payment.
Okay. You mentioned HR, so that's part of this also?
Yes, so the recruitment process was a project that was just presented, and I can certainly give you all a copy of what was presented to the Finance Committee. The recruitment process and onboarding is something that was identified as a high-risk area in that enterprise risk assessment. And it, is a risky thing in that it takes quite some time to bring people on board. So there are some efficiencies and recommendations that came out of that report. And so I'm working with our new HR director to develop a management response to each of those recommendations. And then we'll be tracking the implementation as we move forward. So there is follow-up with each one of these reports. They give us recommendations, and then we're expected to consider those and implement them.
That was all my questions, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Any other questions? Sure.
This came up on the finance committee. So I know that one of the things we're trying to figure out is how we can take some of the software that we're using in land use and possibly public works and make that compatible with Munis, because there is an issue related to how we can't process payments from one software to the other because they're proprietary and they're competitors. And so this is going to look at that dynamic.
Yes, if I may, part of the project would touch on integrations through APIs and other types of tools to integrate different systems. But this is a broader project that Baker Tilly will be engaging in beyond the OpenGov integration.
But to be clear, we're looking into how to solve this problem.
Absolutely, yes. We're currently working on that right now, Counselor Faulkner. We have had several meetings and discussions among the different departments, finance, ITT, and of course, planning and land use. Some of the restrictions on payment are guided by our banking services agreement with Wells Fargo. So we are trying to navigate our way through that, especially as we bring on new modules that have a payment component. We do have other modules with OpenGov. However, this is the first time we've had a payment portion of the software, and that has impacted workflows for the other departments. So we are trying to figure that out right now. There's a potential for 2 integrations, one with our banking services, and then one between Munis and OpenGov, so we can get the daily transactions into our system.
Awesome. And I just want to say, you, Andrea, have been so instrumental in solving a lot of our problems. And I just want to thank you for the work that you've done and your constant diligence in trying to get the city to be more efficient. We've had many conversations about so many things we could fix just in the finance department, but then also like with land use and some of our more critical departments. So I just want to thank you, because we don't always agree 100%, but you generally convince me into common sense. So I appreciate that.
Thank you, Counselor. Any other comments from governing body members? If not, what's the will of the body?
Move to approve.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Madam City Clerk, can we get a roll call vote, please?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Counselor Costello.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Madam City Clerk?
And we look into technology fixes in the chambers.
Are you, okay, now it seems like you're unfrozen. So Madam City Clerk, the last vote we had was for Counselor Castro.
Okay. Counselor,
Who was that?
Counselor Chavez,
Yes.
Okay.
Counselor Faulkner,
Yes.
Counselor Figali,
Yes.
Counselor Garcia,
Yes.
Counselor Barrett,
Yes.
Counselor Bustamante,
Yes.
Counselor Cassett.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Okay, thank you, Madam City Clerk. Next item on the agenda.
Next item, can they hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is 9S. This is consideration of a resolution This is sponsored by Mayor Michael Garcia, Councillor Paul Bustamante, and Councillor Pilar Faulkner. A resolution suspending the annual fishing derby in Santa Fe River, approving a children's fishing derby event on city property in Nichols Reservoir on September 26, 2026, and directing the city manager and designated city staff to take the necessary steps to organize the event. And here to speak is Constituent Services Manager Javier Martinez.
Okay, well, as Mr. Martinez comes on down, this item was pulled by Councillor Fagali and Councillor Cassett. I'll go ahead and lead it off with you. Would you, Councillor Fagali?
Thank you. Martinez, thank you. I have more questions about this. So I'll start with some, and then I'm sure Councillor Cassidy has some more, but were there other places that were considered? I know we used to do this in the river, and my brain is having a hard time with us going into our drinking supply to put in fish. So like, are there other places that we considered doing this?
Honorable Mayor, members of the governing body, Councillor Fagali, no, this is the only place that had been considered.
We have reasons we didn't consider other places?
I'm not aware in regards to any other facilities that were city property that could accommodate such an event.
Okay. I also have questions about the FIR, about the fiscal impact report. Are you the person to ask for that? This FIR seems super low. It's $9,200, which I didn't know that we could have events for $9,200. It's good to know, but it's like, yeah, how do we commandeer buses and have people, and are there, portalets, and I know there's staff, and where do the fish come from, and how is this so cheap? Can we do other events for this little amount of money?
Honorable Mayor, member of the governing body, Councillor Fagali. So what was taken into consideration for this FIR was primarily the cost for the transportation from our transit department. So Director Baca provided that information, what it would cost to facilitate 3 large buses to shuttle individuals to and from the reservoir. The other major cost is because it's on a weekend, it's primarily for staff. But other than that, providing porta potties or logistical issues like that, it wasn't really a major cost because it's only a 1-day event.
Okay. I know that there have been meetings with neighborhood groups and community groups, community partners. I have not personally heard from any of them saying, okay, now we think this is a great idea. I have only heard from people saying, please don't do this event. Do you have updates from any of those, or do you know if any of them are here and willing to talk about it?
Honorable Mayor, members of the governing body, Councillor Fagali, unfortunately, I don't have that information regarding any meetings and the details regarding the stakeholders.
Mayor, do you or any of the sponsors have any of that information?
I'm happy to speak to it. I don't know if Councillor Bustamante wants to go first and I can follow. So Councillor Fagali, and as well, Councillor Faulkner, this has been kind of a parallel process, right? And so we couldn't really engage too much with folks because we didn't know if the first portion of this process would be approved, which is the ordinance change. We did have conversation with some stakeholders as we were considering the ordinance change. And then post ordinance change, we've continued that conversation with stakeholders, as well as this past Monday, we also spoke with the Canyon Road Neighborhood Association. So I think we've worked to address a lot of the concerns. Our goal is to ensure that we are working to plan an event that is most importantly safe, and ensuring that we're incorporating feedback of any of the concerns of the stakeholders. And so we've done that as we're working to plan the potential event. And so Councillor Bustamante or Counselor Faulkner, feel free to add.
Thank you, Mayor. So there have been at least a couple of organizations that have stated that as long as it's planned properly, that they didn't have any issue with the event going on. So I can say, and Director Roach, please correct me if I'm wrong, because you were at those meetings as well. Audubon Society seemed to be okay with it as long as it was planned properly and we could provide them with some signage to let people know that that was just a one-day event and include that in any sort of disclaimers that we had. And I believe also after conversation with Tesuque Pueblo, that they, again, so long as we had reached out to partners and planned properly and they could review the plan, they would be okay with it. And Mayor, correct me if I'm wrong on that one, because you were there as well.
Counselor Faulkner, anything to add?
I would just add that in the meeting that I attended with the Canyon Road Neighborhood Association, I think that their frustration was more that they weren't approached before the legislation was introduced and they didn't feel like they were part of the discussion. But then as we explained the facts, and what I can say in this instance is are so much misinformation circulating. And once we explained what the facts of the situation were, they actually then, to my recollection, said like, well, if you had talked to us earlier, we could have helped promote, like we could not promote, but we would have been a little more on board. So I think that's a lesson learned for all of us, that if we're going to put legislation out there, we need to vet it a little bit with the primary stakeholders. I don't think that's like the biggest misstep. I think it's just like an opportunity to like know that if we have some stakeholders who are highly vested in an issue, we need to reach out to them before we introduce the legislation. I know this is a lesson I had to learn as a lobbyist, and I felt like they were not opposed to the idea once they knew the facts. And I feel like in this instance, one of the issues was that we didn't approach people about the issue ahead of time. So then, and I said this in this meeting, if we don't communicate with the community will look to their own devices to try to figure out what the information is that's true about the situation. And if they don't have all the information they need to fully understand the situation, they will then, I mean, I would do this as well. I think human beings will do this. You will then turn to, why am I not getting the information? What information is being withheld from me? So that puts people in the defensive mode. And then we kind of start looking at things in a conflict space, rather than if we had all been communicated with, everyone would know the facts and it would be a different situation. And so I do feel like the Canyon Road Neighborhood Association was not opposed to this once they knew what the facts were. And I have had several phone calls today about this issue. Apparently we're buying fishing poles for everyone who's attending.
I think that's a question for Mr. Martinez. It's still, I think, up for discussion as
That's correct. Honorable Mayor, members of the governing body, Council Faulkner. So nothing has been solidified regarding the purchase of the fishing poles. We're based on the outcome of tonight's meeting, we have a meeting tomorrow with staff to possibly either to solidify a lot of these details.
So I think this would be an awesome space. If we're purchasing fishing poles for children to go fishing who wouldn't normally go fishing, that's a great thing. Like, I feel like that's a good thing that we should do as a city. My district has the most children in the county. And so to me, I'm like, that's a great thing. That could have been something that could have promoted this event. And so I just feel like there was so much misinformation because there wasn't enough communication on the front end. And so I will also, with regard to Councilor Fragali's questions about the FIR has a stunning lack of information. And I think that's another space where we could probably do better. People are probably sick of me saying this, but at the state, every department gives you a dollar number about what this is going to cost. Porta potties are not cheap. for a one-day event. We just did the South Side Back to School Bash, and it was it wasn't like $100,000, but it was a considerable amount. And there's lots of little things that we go through in these events that by themselves aren't a lot of money. But when you accumulate all of these things, it can add up to a notable amount of money. I'm not saying like an insane amount, but notable. And so as finance chair, I would just appreciate it if when we're doing the FIRs, every department that has any amount of funding or personnel time, because personnel time is a cost as well. If we could get some clarity on those things moving forward, that would be great. And I know it's not your fault, Javier, obviously, but I do think that if we're going to be doing city events, we need to make sure that it's transparent to the community exactly what the cost is. Because I know when we, again, Back to School Bash or La Posada, there were costs that we were being told we're going to cost X amount of money. And again, it's like maybe 3,000 here or 5,000 here. And it doesn't seem like a lot, but you total it up and it is still public funding. So I'm just going to request of all staff, if any of your people are going to be a part of this event and that has a cost like overtime, man hours, whatever it is, we need to make sure that our FIRs are fully transparent about how much money we're spending on things. Because I do think that's important for the community to know. This event is not just $9,200. The Back to School Bash was more than that. And so anyway, I just want to echo Councilor Fragali's concerns that the FIR was lacking in information. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Counselor. I think Counselor Chavez had a comment and then, okay.
I just wanted to ask a question because it was like, oh, we're going to throw a bunch of fish in here. This is already like an aquatic ecosystem, correct? Like there's living organisms already in this body of water. So I think the community needs to know that because I feel like they think that for this event, we're altering a system, but there's already living organisms in this body of water. There's rainbow trout. It's a already living aquatic ecosystem that exists. We're only contributing living things for this derby that fit into that ecosystem. So I feel like there is a level of understanding that needs to be communicated around that fact.
Honorable Mayor, members of the governing body, Councilor Chavez, you're correct. There is an ecosystem currently living in all bodies of water, to include Nichols Reservoir. A good understanding is the Buckman Direct. It draws water directly from the Rio Grande, which has a lot of, organisms, not to mention from whatever comes, the river collects from up north. So it's all a system. But again, I'm not a subject matter expert in the water department, but if you, the governing body wishes to have a little bit more, I would defer to Director Roach regarding that if need be.
I think there's this understanding that there's this like pure, clear water ready to drink out of the reservoir waiting for people, and we're about to alter it with the derby, and that's not the case. Like this is an ecosystem with living organisms in it already. That is not what is existing. We're not altering like this sparkling, purified fountain of drinking water. And I think people just need that very like that clarification and that to be emphasized because that's not the fact.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Cassett.
Thank you so much, Mayor. Thank you, Javier, for being here. And thank you again for being here at Finance. And as I said at Finance the other day, I understand I had a lot of questions that do not pertain to your department. So I appreciate you doing the best that you could answer those. I've struggled with this as well. I'm a lot less concerned about fish as opposed to fire. That is my primary concern around introducing individuals into the watershed at this moment in time. So I do have a couple questions there. I actually do want to scroll back. I want to follow up on some of the conversations around community engagement, and if my colleagues could please expand upon some of the comments you heard from community groups. So I'm curious, like, what concerns have come up? How are we addressing them? So as you know, we're talking about that these conversations are coming up, concerns are coming up, and so we're making plans to address them. Can I get some examples and hear, a little bit more understanding there?
Sure, I'm happy to expand, and if either Councillor Bustamante or Councillor Faulkner wants to follow up. And so some of the initial concerns during the first meetings with stakeholders was, I think it was around the, hey, you have not reached out to us. And so we began to explain to folks what we were thinking of. As we began to explain the proactive measures, whether it's through mitigating traffic, because I think that was one of the concerns, was that there was this assumption that we were going to have all attendees just drive up to the reservoir, which is not the case. So I think that kind of concern went away. In regards to fire safety, even in our meeting Monday with the Canyon Road Neighborhood Association, folks weren't kind of aware of some of even the fire mitigation efforts that we have underway, which is, for example, we're going to be working to enter into a contract to thin the watershed. This hasn't been done in quite some time. And so I think a lot of it was just sometimes even, as Councillor Faulkner said, based off of there was, because stakeholders didn't have information, there was just assumptions made. And once we clarified what we were actually planning, a lot of the concerns kind of went away from my position or my perspective. And I'll turn to Councillor Bustamante or Councillor Faulkner for any additional comments.
Thank you, Mayor. So yeah, some of the concerns that were brought up. So one of the primary concerns, other than fire, of course, was concern over recreational events in general up in the watershed. So, and we highlighted several times that the ordinance change that would allow for this only allows for limited fishing events as approved by the governing body. Does not open the watershed up for mountain biking, for camping, for day hikes, anything else. It's just that. Sorry, I have to bring up my other thing. Some of the other specific concerns, there has been some question because previously much of that land up there's an exclusion from Congress that prohibits access to the land. But as the map that Director Roach sent out highlighted, the Nichols Dam is not part of that compact, and it is a city-owned land and utility. There was concern that we weren't coordinating with the Forest Service. There was also concern about what security was going to be in place during and after the event. So what are we doing to make sure that people are limited in area? And what are we doing for cleanup after the event? There were more, or there may be a couple more. I do know that one of the meetings was recorded and those notes were sent out. So I think Director Roach has those. I may have those in my email. Happy to forward those to you.
Be wonderful. And then in terms of those last questions, in terms of coordinating with the U.S. Forest Service, security, cleanup, Director Roach, I would imagine we already have, do we have security up there at this time? Sorry, I know you've been hanging out in the back and avoiding having to make the long walk down to the mic. But it's always good to get more steps.
Mayor Garcia, governing body, Councilor Cassett. We do have a security service that occasionally drives up that road.
Okay. Okay. And then in terms of the U.S. Forest Service coordination for this event in particular, is that occurring?
We spoke to the Forest Service and sort of repeating what has been said already is that this doesn't involve Forest Service lands. And so they didn't have anything specific that I'm aware of to say, but they were brought into the loop that this was something we were discussing.
Okay, all right, thank you. And then Councilor Bustamante, you mentioned that partners felt okay if it was planned properly. What does that mean? How do we define?
That's actually a good
properly?
question. Most of them didn't have an answer for us, to be honest, and exactly what that meant. The biggest concern that I picked up was that they felt it was being planned too quickly.
Okay.
But, you know, as was pointed out several times, you know, we have a professional staff, both in terms of event planning and our public utilities department, whose job it literally is to protect our water source. And so, you know, the city, at least in the conversations I was in, felt that we could plan this within a given time.
Okay, yeah, and I brought this up during finance. I spoke to the city manager about this as well. I know that there can sometimes be some hesitancy, understandably, from staff to fully flesh something out because we haven't gotten approval. And when that's happened in the past, there's been this, accusation of you guys are doing things behind our backs or something along those lines. For me, I actually really like the details. Please go ahead if you want to propose something. I want to see the details. I want to understand what that planning looks like. I want that FIR to be fully mapped out because we have thought about all those pieces so that when I am making a decision, I have all the pieces in front of me that really help me. And so that has been a challenge that I have felt with this particular resolution. And I understand the differing philosophies there, where and I understand wanting to balance time. I would say for me, that's my preference. I want to know how much this thing is going to cost. I want to know what the, different emergency plans are and that those have been considered. And then, being able to take those to community partners to say, all right, here's what we got. What did we miss? And so then I feel a lot better, feeling like there's been, the appropriate amount of planning and vetting, and that when it is coming to me, I have, most of the information at my fingertips. Maybe we'll think of something, but so just future reference. And I'm not blaming anyone there. I understand it's a difference in philosophy, but that's my preference. My big thing, as I mentioned, is fire. And I do have amendment that I want to add to this. It was created both in partnership with some community partners, as well as a recommendation from Chief City Manager to put in some language about kind of the no-go situations, really mimicking what is already in play for some other fire risky activities, such as using our trails or fireworks. And so if you guys look into the packet, it should be there. It's Amendment A. And there's a few additions that come in. I will read them in. So on page 3, line 11, there's an and on 10, but line 11, whereas on January 27th of 2016, the city passed resolution number 2016-12 designating the Greater Santa Fe Fireshed, which includes the Santa Fe watershed, as an area in need of fire risk awareness and mitigation. And the city soon after became part of the Greater Santa Fe Fireshed Fireshed Coalition, which is dedicated to collaborative work to protect the Santa Fe River watershed. And whereas the city wishes for the protection and educational goals of the Children's Fishing Derby event to be aligned with the Firesheds Coalition's goals, consistent with maintaining proper fire risk awareness in the Greater Fireshed. And then jump down, next page, page 4, line 1. Be it further resolved. And this, oops, got a typo in there. Be it further resolved that, no, we don't need that that the city manager and designated staff, and this is the addition, working in collaboration with the appropriate partners of the Fireshed Coalition and other impacted community organizations. And then it continues. And then on line 10, 4, based on indices published by the National Weather Service and any other relevant information supplied by the United States Forest Service, the city manager may, in consultation with the fire chief and emergency manager, cancel the event should they determine fire risk threatens the safety of the Santa Fe watershed and/or public safety. So again, really mimicking some of our other language in other places around how do we determine whether or not something is a go or a no-go situation. What was challenging is because I was doing this a little last minute, and I don't know if anybody in this room has this information. I'm still trying to figure out what those precise indices are. I know Chief City Manager Moya knows what they are. Oh, great. Jesse, please.
Mayor Garcia, Councilor Cassett. So there are 3 fire restrictions implemented by the Forest Service in the Santa Fe National Forest. Stage 1, Stage 2, Stage 3. We are currently in Stage 1 and we've been there since April. And that essentially means you can only have fires in developed campsite type areas, no smoking. Stage 2, there's no fires allowed at all. And there's additional restrictions that we follow when the Forest Service goes into Stage 2 when in our operations in the watershed. And so internally, we've already discussed that at Stage 2 or Stage 3 restrictions, we would call this a no-go.
Thank you, because I've been asking that question. What makes this a no-go? And I really appreciate that answer because I've been able to get it. Are there any other quote-unquote no-go scenarios that we have contemplated and that would be in place?
There are, and I think I can't speak to them as well as Kyle can. The only other one that I will speak to, and then I can mention some that he mentioned, is if we don't get fish, then it would be a no-go. And there are specific water quality parameters that we would need to meet in the reservoir before the Game and Fish, the Department of Game and Fish would donate the fish. I don't anticipate that being an issue. We, as you all know, drained that reservoir for the last couple of years while we were doing construction. We've refilled it subsequently and have already observed fairly large fish in the reservoir. And in speaking to the Department of Game and Fish, they know from previous sort of experience up there that it is very good trout habitat. So I don't see there being an issue with them donating the fish, but that would be the other no-go.
Okay. Deputy CM, do you have more to add to that? Thank you, Jesse.
All right, and maybe I'll just mention, since Kyle is not here, the other sort of so the pre-event no-go conditions would be Forest Service Stage 2 or 3 fire restrictions, and then any water quality concerns that prevented us from having fish. And then day of no-go conditions would be a red flag warning, flash flood warning, lightning in the vicinity, security concerns, or any other major safety concerns day of.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And that cover them all?
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you, Councilor Cassett, Mayor Garcia, and members of the governing body. Because Kyle Morgan is amazing, he's been thinking about this and planning out what this emergency action plan will look like for this event, should it be approved to move forward on it. So we can certainly follow up with you and send you what he is thinking. But to speak to what the gentlemen have already said, those day of no-go conditions are going to be things like the red flag warning, flash flood warning, lightning in the vicinity, security concerns, any other major safety concern. He's already been planning with our staff on egress and possible evacuation routes, public alerts, decision authority. So that is already being contemplated and will be part of the event emergency action plan that will be solidified and leading up to the event. So he is talking about staging fire and EMS units that will be pre-positioned at the event in the event of a medical or other emergency. We will also have evacuation logistics, including 2 egress routes, plus a shelter-in-place fallback at the water treatment plant, if need be. And of course, we'll have staff continually monitoring any kind of wildfire or weather risk, alerts, warnings, and any additional concerns that will be leading up to the event. So he is definitely on this and will be coordinating it to manage the event as best as we possibly can so that it's a safe event for the attendees and for the community.
Wonderful. Thank you. I really appreciate it. This is the information that I really wanted and really needed. Still freaks me out a little bit, but I feel more comfortable with this, given all these components that are in place and that there's, you know, actual numbers and indices there. I have a couple more questions. I've had the floor for a while, so I can, you know, relinquish for a minute if there's others and then come back if they haven't been answered. Thank you.
Okay. We'll come back to you, Counselor Cassett. Counselor Castro.
Thank you so much. So I just have a clarifying question. Are we actually following this amendment whether we pass it or not? Because we basically have these abilities already. Is that correct, Director Roach?
My recommendation would be a no-go at stage 2 fire restriction, if that's the question. And I will just say that I think Councilor Cassett's concerns are shared by the Public Utility Department. We do not, I personally do not have any concerns about water quality with people accessing the reservoir. My concerns are what is the threat to us as a utility is fire in the watershed. That's the threat, and that's the thing that we will guard against with you know, all tools available.
That also makes me feel great. Thank you so much. No further questions, Mayor.
Any other questions from governing body members? Hearing none, back to you, Counselor Bustamante.
Thank you, Mayor. I guess this is more for Councilor Cassett. I guess I kind of question the need for this amendment since, you know, most of that was addressed. At least the big thing was for, in terms of the Fire Shed Coalition, I would just highlight that, you know, we have spoken with a number of people that are listed as partners on their webpage, because I wasn't aware of this organization. And it did bring up something that was also a concern that was brought up, and I apologize because I forgot about it. But one of the things was that, you know, some of the partners felt they weren't given ample opportunity for public comment. But as I, you know, said during many of the meetings, we advertise this, if you will, the same as we do any other legislation. It publishes a schedule of all the committees it's going to go through. Each one of those committees has public comment available. I would say any of the organizations listed on here would have had an opportunity. One of the things I find interesting, they just ran an article in the paper, and they had reached out to all these organizations, and none of them provided comment. They all declined to comment. So you know, it's interesting that, you know, Director Roach and I are chided that we didn't provide for ample public comment, yet given an opportunity for public comment, it was not taken. So, you know, I guess I'm not opposed to this amendment necessarily, but I'm just questioning the need for it.
Yeah, I can respond to that. Because I didn't have information similar to what Counselor Faulkner said, and I had a vacuum, I created, you know, I wanted to move this forward because this information was not available to me earlier. And so that's where this is. That being said, I feel fine without it at this moment in time. The only reason I would want to pass it is honestly because Marcy had to put work into it. But, you know, that's what she does all the time anyway. And we learned things today, though, which was a lot of fun. So we always appreciate that. You know, and in terms of the public comment piece, you know, and I would say I've messed this up before, is, you know, sometimes the reach out to organizations that you know are intimately involved before something comes out. I think that would have been appreciated. I have also heard that some of these organizations are feeling hesitant to speak at this moment in time. And so that's, you know, something that we'll need to work on, that they're feeling like speaking against this could have a negative impact on their relationship with the city and their ability to continue to deliver those services, whether or not those, you know, impressions are accurate or not. That is still the felt experience that we'll of course need to be working on, is some of what I have heard and that I think is really important, especially with these partners. Did you have any other questions before I jump? Last two things. One, educational components. I know that there's been some discussion around how we incorporate those. What's going on there?
Mayor Garcia, Councilor Cassett, that's a great question. And I think this is the concerns that have been brought up here are valid. And I guess I want to point out that one of the things that was challenging about this event is the timeline. So, you know, we didn't know what the Living River allocation was formally until April 1st. And then at that point, it was like the question was, do we have any possibility of doing a, a fishing derby? And the answer was, well, code says no, not in the river. Code also says no, not in the reservoir, but it's an interesting idea we could look into. And so then it was like, okay, let's look into it. We would need to change code. So that was the first step. In some of these meetings with the partners months or years ago, the idea of, a fishing derby at Nichols had been broached and there was no real response. And then as we moved into this process, which was, we need to change the code and then we need a resolution. All this sort of came too fast. And I will, take the blame for not being as communicative as quickly with the partners as we should have been. And again, to your point, coming at them with something fully developed is then accusation of planning behind their backs, and coming at them before you can do something, so it was tricky and we didn't do a good job of it. And so lesson learned, and we'll do better in sort of the next piece. And now I've gone off on a total tangent and forgot your question.
Education.
Yeah. So we do have the sort of idea here is to run buses from the South Capitol rail runner station. It's almost a half an hour in transit each way. And so we have kind of an opportunity to have a one pager at least of the do's and don'ts, the watershed, the water supply, Nichols, where Nichols fits into all that, and possibly, a staff member or a partner member able to talk to folks on the bus ride up and on the bus ride down. So that's the intent from the city perspective, and then offering tabling opportunities for partners who are interested up at the reservoir at the event.
Okay, thank you. And where there'll be, I'm assuming this information will also include you are not allowed up here on your own. And if you do so, here's your fine. Do we have a fine?
That's right. The do's and don'ts. We'll have to, you're not allowed up here. This is a special opportunity, and we need you to appreciate it and act accordingly so that maybe it's an opportunity again, or maybe it's not.
Okay, thank you. And then just two requests. One, I mentioned my concerns around the current proposal for how the lottery would move for the, child and, in families with multiple children. That can be really challenging. I know that would be chaos in my household. But also thinking about families that don't necessarily have another option if only one kid, gets the golden ticket. So I think some consideration around that. And then I think once this plan is fully finalized, if this does pass tonight, I would want to see that plan in full detail. As well as Jesse, I think maybe post this, it might be a good idea to run those security cars up a little bit more often if people know that this thing exists and how to get there. Just make sure a little, for a couple weeks afterwards that people aren't like, oh, well, the watershed, we just were up there. And when you're in a bus with a bunch of kids, things get lost. And there's snacks and all bathroom and, all the things that happens with children. So I think some extra caution there would be needed. And with all of those, I think that I am willing to, with a lot of caution, support this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cassett. Any other questions or comments?
Motion to approve.
Second.
We've got a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Or none, Madam City Clerk, can we get a roll call vote, please?
Yes, Mayor, Councillor Chavez,
Yes.
Councillor Faulkner,
Yes.
Councillor Figali,
No.
Councillor Garcia,
Yes.
Councillor Barrett,
No.
Councillor Bustamante,
Yes.
Councillor Cassett,
Yes.
Councillor Castro.
Yes, and I'd like to explain my vote.
Motion passed.
Thank you, Madam City Clerk. Next item on the agenda, please. Oh, sorry, Councillor Castro.
Okay, I am very, very hesitant on this. I think we do need more planning. I do see the writing on the wall that we're going to continue to work on this event, and so I do want to be a part of planning if at all possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Castro. Next item on the agenda, please, Madam City Clerk.
Next item on the agenda is matters from the city manager.
Mayor Garcia, members of the governing body, I have nothing for tonight.
Thank you, Madam City Manager. Next up,
Next item is matters from the city attorney.
Thank you. Mayor, members of the governing body, I recommend that the governing body go into an executive session for the matters as noticed in the agenda.
okay,
I was
let's,
not prepared. I apologize. What's on the agenda now? In accordance with the Open Meetings Act, NMSA 1974, Section 10-15-1, Subpart H7, meeting subject to attorney-client privilege pertaining to threatened or pending litigation with the city, that city is or may become a participant, including but not limited to Jeffrey Hurtado versus City of Santa Fe, D-101-CV 2025-00757, and Subpart H8, meeting for the discussion of purchase, acquisition, or disposal of real property or water rights by the city, including but not limited to the Armijo Trust.
Second.
and we've got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Or none, Madam City Clerk, can we get a roll call vote, please?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Faulkner,
Yes.
Councillor Figali,
Yes.
Councillor Garcia,
Yes.
Councillor Barrett,
Yes.
Councillor Bustamante,
Yes.
Councillor Cassett,
Yes.
Councillor Castro,
Yes.
Councillor Chavez.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Okay, we will now stand in recess as we enter executive session.
Forum. The mayor has to call the meeting to order first. Yeah, he's right out there. Like right outside the doorway.
Pursuant to the Open Meetings Act, Section 10.
None of the mayor has to call the meeting to order.
They're saying it. We're called? Okay. Pursuant to the Open Meetings Act, Section 10-15-1J, I move that the governing body reconvene an open session and state for the record that the matters discussed in the closed session were limited to those specified in the motion for closure.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? There are none. Madam City Clerk, can we get a roll call vote, please?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, Counselor Figali,
Yes.
Counselor Garcia,
Yes.
Counselor Barrett,
Yes.
Counselor Bustamante,
Yes.
Counselor Cassett,
Yes.
Counselor Castro,
Yes.
Counselor Faulkner,
Yes.
motion passed.
Okay, given that we are hitting the 7 o'clock mark, what's the will of the governing body?
I make a motion that we move directly to petitions from the floor and then resume our usual order of business.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Any discussion? There are none. Madam City Clerk, can we get a roll call vote, please?
Certainly, Mayor, Counselor Garcia,
Yes.
Counselor Barrett,
Yes.
Counselor Bustamante, Counselor Cassett, Counselor Castro, Counselor Faulkner, Counselor Figali, motion passed.
I think it's a dangerous precedent to allow a fishing derby to be put there with buses going in there. People are gonna want to come back and they're gonna want to sneak in. And we have this gigantic fire, the Frijoles fire, that shouldn't draw your attention, that minimize any attraction that this Nichols Reservoir should have for a catastrophically stupid event, the fishing derby. So with my remaining time, I want to ask that you pray. Time's up. Thanks for listening. And I'm gonna keep writing to you. I particularly appreciate Mayor Garcia's enthusiasm and so for Elizabeth Barrett. Thank you.
Next speaker, please.
Mr. Mayor, sorry to interrupt, but it sounds like maybe people can't hear online. So I don't know, IT, can you just verify that? I also texted G just to make sure that folks who are listening online can indeed hear.
Let's just do a quick sound check. Madam City Clerk, can you hear us in the chamber?
Yes, Mayor, I can hear you, and the Zoom was muted. It has been unmuted, so we are good.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Thank you.
Madam City Manager. Okay, the floor is yours, sir.
Mayor Garcia, members of the council, my name is Tomas Rivera. I am the executive director of Chainbreaker Collective. Chainbreaker is a membership-led economic environmental justice organization. We have over 800 dues-paying members, the bulk of whom are low-income people of color, many of whom live in the Hopewell Man neighborhood. We are here today just to express our celebration of the introduction of the Hopewell Man Neighborhood Stabilization Plan. It's a project that has been in the works for many months and actually many years, one that we have put a lot of time into community input for, and we are very proud of under the leadership of Mass. So we will be following it through. We hope to see it move forward as a resolution and the policy recommendations in it, and are looking forward to working with you and continuing to work with the community to make sure that the Hopewell Man neighborhood is stable and remains so in the future, and that this plan is moves forward. Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
My name is Mary Madley, and I live in Santa Fe, and I'm addressing the issue of pet production, flannel. I don't think flannel scientists and engineers really like making pits. They know it's risky in the long run, and they have no control over safety. Once the pits leave the lab, longtime lab employees who live here in Santa Fe did not sign up for weapons production. Some may not like the chain of command. One person, our president, has sole authority to use nuclear weapons. We are being pushed towards the development of smaller tactical nuclear weapons, with the Pentagon now drafting a strategy allowing for the use of such weapons in war. That would be reckless. The lab is being told to move fast, working 24 hours a day to produce plutonium pits. Santa Fe and Los Alamos are worlds apart. Santa Fe is a centuries-old city, steeped in spiritual traditions, whereas the city of Los Alamos grew up in support of the Manhattan Project as it became a nuclear lab. Santa Fe's honored wisdom traditions all oppose nuclear weapons, whether indigenous, Catholic, Buddhist, all of them. No one thinks weapons of mass destruction are morally sound or can ever be worth the risk of ending life on our planet. Flannel basks in stories about the early scientists, but the great ones grew to hate hydrogen bombs. Einstein said his encouragement of the Manhattan Project was his greatest regret. Enrico Fermi said that the nuclear bomb is an evil thing. Rabi called the modern lab an abomination. And Oppenheimer said, "I become death, and I have blood on my hands." Our voices truly matter, and Santa Fe's opinion has merit. Someone else's high salaries are not a good reason to compromise our culture, our faith, our lifestyle, and our integrity. Please pass a resolution replacing pit. Thank you.
Mayor Garcia, councilors, my name is Greg Mello. I'm the director of the Los Alamos Study Group. I lived in Santa Fe for 23 years and now live in Albuquerque. I'm speaking in favor of a city resolution opposing all plutonium warhead pit production at Lannel. Lannel has recently grown into the largest nuclear warhead complex in the world, fiscally speaking, and is still growing in both infrastructure and staff. Santa Fe plays a crucial role in that growth. The size of Lannel's new factory remains unbounded. Its hoped-for capacity could double or even triple depending on legislation currently pending in Congress. Lanel's factory is entirely directed toward new nuclear weapons. 12,000 people commute into Los Alamos County every day. NNSA believes an additional 10,000 housing units are needed in the county. The county itself believes 8,500 are needed. No one is building more than a tiny fraction of this housing. In addition to the presently private land, many square miles of NNSA land are potentially available for housing in Los Alamos County. Several thousand Lanel workers reside in and commute from Santa Fe. In a recent 5-year period, Lanel employees absorbed 40% of all new housing in Santa Fe. I believe that each year, several $1 million are paid out by city drivers as a result of Lanel-caused congestion. I sent you a letter about this today. I also believe city residents pay tens of millions each year in aggregate inflated rents, mortgages, and maintenance. We crudely estimate the total financial impact of Lanel on city residents as more than $40 million annually, or $550 per person, and it could be more. This does not include the fiscal impact to the city for infrastructure and services. Who should pay for the impacts we can attempt to quantify, and those we cannot? What would be enough? What if we gained the whole world and lost our soul? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm Bill Tewald. I live in Albuquerque. I've come to express pits are the pits, plutonium pits are the pits for New Mexico water, land, and air. I've spent the last week and a half researching 100,000 words on the effects of nuclear war. It turns out that just should Pakistan and India have used 1/3 of their arsenal on each other in a limited war, that would be followed by at least 2 years, many experts say up to 5 years of nuclear winter. Not only would millions die from the actual nuclear detonations, but the entire world, as we've seen it from the recent pandemic, the entire world's economy would be affected, likely a depression. Billions would starve because of that and because of the following nuclear winter. An all-out nuclear war by the major powers, let me tell you, I've been researching it. I don't even want to tell you about it. It's such a nightmare. So I appreciate it if you would stand as individuals and as a city council concerning this madness. Not only is our state going to pay a great price environmentally, but it's all for a fool's errand. Thank you very much.
I am so disappointed. You guys cannot get it together. You say it's an ecosystem. You say, yeah. You want to yawn? That is one of the most disrespectful things to do. You don't give any consideration to your constituents, to the citizens. That watershed does not have people. It belongs to the city. It belongs to the citizens. No one else should have any rights to that but the citizens. You want to let people go fish in that water with who knows what type of feed that isn't consumed or even able to be ingested by humans, but you're going to let them throw that in our water, huh? Wow. Think about it. Filtration doesn't filter that stuff out. Common sense. 2, DOT says that the letter they sent to you for the hotel, we don't need any, what is it called? Safety corridor. You don't need to do the road corridor. BS. If that gets built, that whole road is screwed. It is going to be congested. It's going to have nothing but accidents. There's nothing you can do about it. So why are you going to let the state bully you into saying, oh, yeah, it's okay? No, it's not. Get it figured out. You guys say you give a shit about us. You don't. You don't. There's nothing more important than the citizens in your city who pay the taxes. We are the bosses. You guys keep fucking forgetting that. It's disgusting. These people come from other places to come here to our city council because we have a great city. We have a beautiful city, and we've had it for 400 plus years. And you guys don't give a shit about it. That's sad. And thank you again for voting against it.
So great. I can stand up here and there's a little piece of art and an expressive person who also came right before me. And unfortunately, there he is leaving, and I would like to have him have heard this, but I'll tell him next time I see him. First of all, my name's Elizabeth West. And at one point, I think a couple of weeks ago, I said, one of the things that's sort of on my mind, and I'll start sort of repeating it a little bit, and that is that I think there should be a stop sign, not a stoplight, but a stop sign at the corner of Johnson and Grant. It's amazing how fast people go through there. And I think it would be fun to slow them up. I just want to say, I had coffee recently at a local coffee shop. And I appreciated being there. And there was a fellow in front of me, well-dressed, charming. And he said, oh, I just love this place. And I said, I kind of agree. I can't see what my time is, but anyway. Thank you. So I said, yeah, it's good. I like it. Kind of like being in Paris, but I didn't have to pay to go there. And we had a nice chat. And then he said, you know, so great. I work up in Los Alamos, and Santa Fe has now become a bedroom community for the workers up there. Isn't that great? And I said, you know, sir, you're talking to the wrong person. Don't think it's great. Don't want to be part of a bedroom community for people who are mostly in weapons. And if they were working on solar stuff, I'd say, yeah, that's kind of cool. But that ended our conversation, you know. So the third thing is I want to say I just went out and got a little bite to eat, and it's raining a little tiny bit. Thank you for the rain. I thank people, whoever, I'm a Unitarian, you know, we're loosey-goosey. But I want to thank you all for the work that you do. And I heard several of you, I know it's my time is running out. This is the compliment I wanted to give you. You want to have more dialogue and learn about things, get details, ask questions. Not all of you can be a lawyer, but you can learn what lawyers do. So engage with the H board. Find out what they do. Thank you.
Are there any other members here in the chambers that would like to provide public comment? If not, Madam City Clerk, can we go to anybody online?
If anybody in the Zoom room would like to make public comment, please raise your virtual hand. No hands have been raised, Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Madam City Clerk. We will now resume our regular order of business. Next item on the agenda, please, Madam City Clerk.
Next item on the agenda is item 14. This is matters from the city clerk. I just want to let folks know that there's a Charter Review Commission meeting on Monday, August 31st at 5 p.m. there in the council chambers. And to let you know that the commission has completed 3 of their 8 input sessions. That's all I have today, Mayor. We'll move on to item 15, which is communications from the governing body.
Okay, we'll go ahead and start with the left from Councilor Bustamante and just work our way to the right.
I have nothing tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
Councilor Cassidy.
Thank you, Mayor. All I have is, next week we will have the 102nd burning of Zozobra. Are we on 102 now? So always a really exciting event. I hope everybody enjoys and stays safe. Thank you so much to Kiwanis for the mammoth lift for our departments that come into play. Fire, obviously, they're a huge piece of this, and parks and event planning. And I mean, just really police, everybody is there, really pulls together. It's a really fun event. So, but everybody please be safe and enjoy. I don't think we have oh, I think we have what is it? The Arts and Crafts Fest, I think, over Labor Day weekend. So again, we are in the middle of just, crazy season, and everybody is always working and always putting things on for the community. So thank you so much to them. On a personal note, I have a couple more birthdays. As I mentioned last time, my little boy turned 8. So still wishing him a happy birthday. This one made me emotional for some reason, maybe because we're 2 years from 10, I don't know, further away from 5, I don't know. But I also want to wish my nephew in California a very happy 10th birthday. And then my mother is having a big milestone birthday coming up on September 5th. So really, really want to wish her a very happy birthday. I'm excited that part of her celebration will be Zozobra. So that's always a great way to start off a new decade in your life. So happy birthday, Mom. Thank you.
Counselor Castro.
Thank you so much. And I won't forget this time. So I will start off with wishing my aunt. It was her 80th birthday yesterday. So we were very excited to have her. And today, though I'm not going to give a ton of details, Immigration Committee did hold a resource fair for affected families. So I want to thank not only Immigration Committee, but also the mayor and all the folks on this governing body for continuing to support affected families. It's been a difficult week, but working together, we're getting through it much better. August 29th, 11 a.m. at La Fonda, there's going to be a mayor's symposium where Sam Pick, Debbie Jaramillo, and Larry Delgado will be speaking. So if you guys want to hear a little bit of the history of Santa Fe, go check that out. That's all for me, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor.
I just want to send my thoughts and prayers out to all the families who were impacted by what ICE did in Santa Fe a week ago, and offer that there are many of us as leaders who are pulling together at every strata of government to try to help the families that have been impacted. I also, on a side note, I got to ride home in the back of a police car last week. Facebook, I was not detained. But I do have to say that the officer was an incredibly awesome person. I think he's going to do a lot in our police department. It's Officer Velasquez, number 261. And I just want to appreciate him for being a gentleman and getting me home safe in the middle of a rainstorm.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to echo some of the words of my co-counselors here and my colleagues, whether you agree or disagree with what's happening in our community, know that there are many people that are affected by these actions, and supporting the individuals that are left behind or have a long road ahead to try to just figure out how to live. I think they do warrant our true help and respect. So thank you.
Counselor Barrett.
I just want to give a shout out to community services, because I think we had a rapid hire event for lifeguards the other day, and I heard that we hired a lot of like maybe at least 8 lifeguards. That is very exciting. Yeah, that deserves a whoop, because people have been reaching out a lot about the pools being closed. They can't stay open as long as we would like them to. We've had a hot streak. Now with climate change, we probably, need more water features. So I think the community is going to be really excited that we hired some more lifeguards. Thanks.
Okay. Counselor Fagali.
Thank you, Mayor. I, on a less fun note, want to point out that we had another traffic fatality this week. We had a pedestrian hit and killed on St. Francis. And to Ms. West's point about the traffic light, I think we have a lot of work that we can do with our roads and with our safety, and with getting to Vision Zero, which is a policy that this governing body has adopted. So I'm looking forward to working more on that and our street design guidelines and our safety guidelines. And my least favorite light is the one right here on Marcy in Washington by the library, but also the one on Grant and Johnson is terrible. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Everything I had on my list was pretty much mentioned, so thank you, everybody. The only thing is wish everybody a happy upcoming Labor Day weekend, and many thanks to all the labor unions and labor workers for everything they've done, from having safe workspaces to all the worker rights protection. So keep up the good fight, union. With that, next item on the agenda, please. Madam City Clerk. All right, we see you're now unfrozen, Madam City Clerk. So we are now
Okay.
on to the next item.
Sorry.
Unless you turned into a
Item-
statue.
No. Item 16 is introduction of legislation. 16A is consideration of a resolution sponsored by Mayor Michael Garcia, Councillor Elizabeth Barrett, and Councillor Paul Bustamante. It's a resolution approving the Hopewell Man Neighborhood Stabilization Plan.
Okay, so I'll turn to the co-sponsors, Councillor Barrett first.
Okay, thanks. Well, I'm new to this. I know all these organizations put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into this stabilization plan. I know Tomas was here from Chainbreaker. I want to shout them out. Mass, Santa Fe, Indigenous Center. Am I missing anybody else who was involved in this plan? Okay, there were probably other organizations. Yeah, so I know this is, years in the works, and there's a lot of exciting work to come out of this. There's a lot of community input, but just highlighting some of what's in the plan: existing homeowner stabilization, small developer and incremental housing support, affordable housing partnerships, community land trusts, very exciting, housing rehabilitation and adaptation, tenant protections and housing stabilization, and more to come from that, because this was just the beginning. We have some follow-up legislation that's coming through on renter protections and stabilization, transitional housing support, zoning reform, right? All kinds of flexible building, and just all of the other exciting projects that are coming up in Midtown. I don't know if Councillor Bustamante wants to follow up on that.
I think Councillor Barrett and Mr. Rivera covered the majority of it, so thank you.
And I would only add one huge partner that was not mentioned is the residents of the Hopewell Man neighborhood. We had a presentation earlier from Cav in regards to how we want to make Midtown a highly successful project. And this stabilization plan will only work to ensure that as the campus is highly successful, that it minimizes any gentrification impacts on that neighborhood. When you have a community such as the Hopewell Man neighborhood, with a major redevelopment happening literally across the street, it is highly susceptible to gentrification, and folks want to move into a new area, which is great, but that should not come at the cost of long-term residents being forced out of their neighborhood. So this is an opportunity for us to ultimately ensure folks can continue to live in their community, but also ensure that we are taking this model and potentially moving it into a much broader citywide stabilization plan. So just many thanks to everybody involved in this, not only from the organizations, but the community and staff as well. So onward. Next item, please, Madam City Clerk.
Next item is 16B, consideration of a resolution sponsored by Councillor Alma Castro and Councillor Patricia Figali. A resolution approving the updated Santa Fe Trails Agency safety plan and directing its submission to the Federal Transit Administration.
Okay, Counselor Castro.
To Counselor Figali's earlier point, we do need to really focus on safety, and this is very important.
Counselor Pagali.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a required resolution that staff brought forward. So Councilor Castro and I are just the sponsors. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Next item, please, Madam City Clerk.
16C, this is consideration of a resolution sponsored by Councillor Jamie Cassett and Mayor Michael Garcia. A resolution of the City of Santa Fe's participation in the New Mexico Department of Transportation's Local Government Road Fund Program for the Henry Lynch Road Reconstruction Project by entering into a cooperative grant agreement control number L500665.
Okay, Counselor Cassett.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, this continues to work on gaining funding for the reconstruction of Henry Lynch Road. I believe that this has been a project that has been slowly making its way to completion since I started on the council and before then. So I really want to recognize all the work of Romela Glorioso Mas in pushing this forward. She has been absolutely incredible in finding funding and making sure that the project continues to move. So I'm very happy to support this resolution and assisting her and the rest of the team in getting Henry Lynch Road reconstructed.
Thank you, Counselor, and that covers my portion as well, so thank you. Next item, please.
Next item is item 16D. This is consideration of a resolution sponsored by Councillor Jamie Cassett. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm rereading the same
No, it's-
caption. We'll move on to item 19. This is final action on legislation.
Madam City Clerk, you are correct. There is an item.
Oh, I was okay. I'm sorry. I saw the control number 12 and I thought it was a duplicate. Okay, my apologies. 16D is consideration of a resolution. This is also sponsored by Councillor Jamie Cassett. It's a resolution approving the City of Santa Fe's participation in the New Mexico Department of Transportation's Local Government Road Fund for the Henry Lynch Road Reconstruction Project control number L500689.
Counselor Cassett.
Thank you, Mayor. Ditto for everything I just said for the previous introduction. So thank you.
Next item, please, Madam City Clerk.
Okay, we'll move on to item 19. This is final action on legislation. This is a public hearing. 19A is consideration of bill number 2026-14 and adoption of an ordinance sponsored by Councillor Jamie Cassett and Councillor Patricia Figali. A bill amending section 14-7.9 SFCC 1987 to clarify a park impact fee exemption as it relates to certain construction permits.
Okay, do we have Ms. Bolinikoff with us?
Obviously, I am not Janice Bolitnikoff. I am her colleague, Joel Cruz Haber, on behalf of her and land use, here to answer any questions you all have about this ordinance. But essentially, we want to clarify that when park space is dedicated, typically through a subdivision process, that or to the city in lieu of paying park impact fees, that all other fees such as road, fire, and police are paid at the time of development. Essentially the crux of it. Any questions?
Okay, before we get to questions, this is a public hearing. So are there any members of the public that would like to speak to this item? Not seeing anybody in the chambers, Madam City Clerk, is there anybody online?
If there are any members in the Zoom room that would like to speak to this public hearing, please raise your virtual hand. No hands have been raised, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Now, I'm going to turn to the governing body. Any questions or comments from the governing body?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, Madam City Clerk, can we get a roll call vote, please?
Certainly, Mr. Mayor. Counselor Barrett,
Yes.
Counselor Bustamante,
Yes.
Counselor Cassett,
Yes.
Counselor Castro,
Yes.
Counselor Faulkner,
Yes.
Counselor Figelli,
Yes.
Counselor Garcia.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Okay, next item on the agenda, please.
Next item on the agenda is 20, public hearings. This is for land use cases, appeals, and other items required to have a public hearing. 20A is consideration of bill number 2026-15. It's a bill rezoning an approximately 7.01 acre tract of contiguous parcels 91000878 9931218 9931281 located at 2780 South Meadows Road from R3, 3 dwelling units per acre, to R6, 6 dwelling units per acre. Case number 2025-10767. And then, Mayor, would you like me to also read the second caption for this public hearing?
Sure, let's ask Mr. Cruz Haber. Are we going to want to take these one by one?
The general plan amendment, case number 2025-10766 will have to go first before the rezoning.
Okay, so that's
So-
item B, correct?
Correct, but I'll present both at this point in time.
Okay, so Madam City Clerk, yes, let's please read the other item into the record as well.
Absolutely. Consideration of a resolution. It's a resolution amending the general plan's future land use map from very low density to low density for approximately 0.27 acre of land at parcel numbers 99312-180 and approximately 0.46 acres of land at 99312-181 within the city of Santa Fe, case number 2025-10766. And here to present is case manager Joel Cruz Haber.
Right. I have the HDMI. I just need the screen. Okay. All right. I'm Joel Cruz Haber, Senior Planner for the Land Use Department for the City of Santa Fe. Yeah, I'll try not to regurgitate too much of what Geraldine just said. So the agent is Sumner Carnes and Associates LLP. The applicant is Montoya y Garcia LLC. The request before you today is a general plan amendment of approximately 0.70 acres of land from very low density to low density, and then a rezoning on 3 contiguous parcels, approximately 7 acres from 3 dwelling units to 6 dwelling units per acre. The site is encased in this yellow triangle area here. To the east, we have the Madero Apartments. To the southwest, we have South Meadow Apartments. West is the El Camino Real Academy, as well as the Cottonwood Village Mobile Home Park, which was part of the county before being placed in the city. And of course, to the north, we have Highway 599, and then using my laser pointer here, we have South Meadows Road bisecting the parcels. These are some site photos that were taken. So this one was taken along South Meadows Road. This is facing the Santa Fe River. And the proposed general plan amendment portion of the area as well as where the open space is located. This is on the other side, facing 599 in the distance, the top right photo. And this is the area proposed to be from most of the R3 and R6, the 7-acre, most of that portion. Bottom left is accessing this site. This is the current Alameda frontage road. It is paved all the way up until the site, generally here. And this is where that new Shell gas station is. This is the South Meadows interchange area. And then behind where this bottom left photo was taken, bottom right is currently we only have curb and gutter, but I'm sure future development will, those roads will get paved. A little bit of zoning background for the site. In 2005, this entire area in blue was a part of the county. And through a collaboration between the city, the county, constituents, they created the Southwest Area Master Plan, or SWAMP, maybe not the best acronym. The best, especially for where we are. Now our specific parcel is located here. Using this site arrow, we're going to track it here. This is our transition area. So this is where we're going from our low densities to our medium to our highs with some commercial and mixed use. Now, when this plan was adopted and approved, it led to the annexation of this area to the city, which occurred in 2013. And the area was designated as an R3 zoning, as shown in this yellow here. So this is our city future land use map. Currently shown here, this is where I took those southern facing photos. This is the very low density area, which is being proposed to very low density to low density. Our low density is shown here in yellow. So it is consistent with a portion of the future land use map. And something that's important to note is that it would allow a range in the future land use map of at least a minimum of 7 dwelling units per acre for the current zoning map, which coincides with the applicant's request for rezoning to R6. So if the rezoning is approved and the future land use map, it would all be consistent. Something also I want to show here is the dedicated open space portion. Through the SWAMP master plan, it was decided that this specific portion of land would be dedicated Santa Fe Trail open space, that future right-of-ways and easements and connections for the city would be dedicated, but that'll be determined at the time of development. These are a few of the guiding policies of our 1999 general plan. Just a couple that I've taken from the staff report that simply evaluate that this portion of areas in an infill area where we want to encourage a mix of land uses, but also encourage our neighborhood nodes, create these nodes, right? We have the school there, we have various levels of densities, also housing types, so different levels of affordability. Now we're going to move on to the rezoning portion of this presentation. So again, everything is zoned R3, all 3 contiguous parcels. If this is approved, the maximum density for all 3 parcels combined, if they were developed that way, would be 42 dwelling units. Now we do round up for base density. If it's 7.01 times the 6 density, we're rounded up to 43.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yes.
Joel, do you have this presentation that you can send to the council?
Yeah.
Okay, do you mind just doing that right now? Sorry, just want to make sure they can see this. Thank you.
So we'll take a quick pause while this is sent to governing body members.
Is there a general email or should I send it to you all individually? Oh, wait. Just sent it again to Counselor Faulkner, so check your email one more time. Awesome. My apologies on not sending it ahead of time. I'm gonna say, who wants to remind me where I left off? See if you were listening. I'm just kidding. I remember. Okay, so the current zoning of the site is all three. As I mentioned, the base density is 42. If it's 0.7.01, we'll round up to 43. Now, if the future development does propose, our Santa Fe homes, and affordable housing incentives and meet those requirements, that the amount of homes may go up for the affordable units, but we just don't know the number of homes being placed right now based on development. So that's just what I wanted to mention to you, the potential new density. This application was sent to our city departmental review team for their comments. A lot of them deferred their comments to development. However, the site is within 200 feet of water and sewer connections. I did mention the general plan as well as, and Transit did comment and said that they do want to make sure those right-of-ways and connections to that Santa Fe Trail is made at time of development, but no traffic impact analysis, no water budget, no grading drainage plan at this time. And just to think about, you know, what may look, what may look out there one day, what it may look like. Our dimensional standards for R6 is the same for R3. So that's 15-foot rear setback, 26-foot height for residential, goes up to 38 for non-residential structures, 5-foot setback, 7-foot front setback, 20-foot for the garage. And this is just a few conditional and permitted uses that you may potentially see in our R6 districts. So agricultural rooftop garden, how cool would that be? That's through a conditional use permit. Human services, daycare facilities, that's through a conditional use permit. But duplex, triplex, quadplex, or high density dwelling units that we're trying to encourage throughout the city, permitted straight through. All right, an early neighborhood notification for this project was held April 24th, 2025. This governing body public hearing was duly notified with mailers sent to property owners within 300 feet, certified mail within the first 100 feet, site posts within 15 days prior of this public hearing, as well as a notice in the New Mexican. Staff found that staff finds the applicant has met all the approval criteria for a general plan amendment and a rezoning. Those can be found in your staff report packet or your general. In the staff report packet, attachment A of your governing body memo. As a part of our general plan amendment and rezone process, it is the Planning Commission who makes a recommendation for the decision for you tonight. And on June 18th, 2026, the Planning Commission recommended that the governing body approve the proposed general plan amendment and rezoning. At the bottom, I have the motions before you tonight, but you'll probably just want to read the captions that you have. Are there any questions for me?
Before we get to questions, this is a public hearing, so we'll first need to hear from any members of the public. So if there's anybody here in the audience that would like to speak to this, now is the time to do so.
Hello, I'm Elizabeth West. I don't have to be sworn in or anything, just you got to hear from me, right? With these plans happening, in general, I'm in favor of this particular effort. And what I'd like to see going forward is, and I don't know if it's probably too late to include it here, but a requirement that there's a meeting place for these small parts of communities. I'm personally interested in preserving compounds. I don't live in one, but wouldn't I be lucky if I were? However, a substitute for that is when development is being moved forward, that a place to eat or a place to meet is somehow included. I'm not exactly sure, but it's just, and it could be at this stage only up to the developer. I hope that's not the case, but it could be. An example is what's happening in Midtown. One lucky restaurant got to be there and they're working hard and they're quite delicious and a little expensive, but a treat. And it's very successful. It's actually helping people feel a part of a community. Even though I don't live there, I like going over there. And to what the mayor was saying earlier about let's not let gentrification exclude people. I mean, ideally, when places are improved, they're good for all of us. And I remember there's a little elementary school that had a beautiful redo of their library. And I'm a retired librarian, so I was thrilled to see it. But somebody said to me, it's not fair. They got it and we don't have it. They shouldn't have it. I said, everything you said is okay except for the last sentence. You should have it too. So I would like to see at the back of the fertilization of your interest in development, include automatically that there are places to gather. I mean, I like coffee shops personally, but thank you.
Thank you. And if we could just make sure the timer is on. I apologize, Ms. West, and I apologize for you, Mr. Summer, but yeah, you did say your name.
Mr. Mayor, I represent the applicant. I didn't know if you were going to do a separate time. I don't need a separate time. I can do mine in roughly 2 minutes, but I do think I have to be sworn as the applicant because this is a quasi judicial hearing. So I think she should have, but
Madam City Clerk, can you?
Yes, if you would please raise your right hand and state your name.
Carl Summer.
Do you solemnly declare and affirm that the testimony you have in reference to this item shall be the truth and nothing but the truth, and do this under the penalties of perjury?
I do.
Thank you.
And Mr. Summer, since you are representing the applicant, we won't have the 2-minute. We'll waive that for you, and then
As quick as I can. As you all can see, it's not a controversial case, very straightforward. It's about cleanup and then allowing for the property to be planned. I represent Carlos Garcia and Sylvia Garcia, who've been here for a long time in this community. And I represent Monica Montoya, who worked at the city of Santa Fe for many, many years and then retired and went into planning. And she and Carlos and Sylvia got together, bought this property and want to bring housing. So I raise that because we should applaud people who in our community who are from here, who are actually developing housing. And Carlos and Sylvia have a long history in this neighborhood. Across the street, there is a development going up of 88 single family housing that they put together with Pulte. Carlos and Sylvia also brought the Madera apartments, which are very well done, attractive apartments across the way, right across the street. And there is a big commercial property that's zoned there that they are bringing a grocery store to that area, which is badly needed. So this is part of their overall plan, bring more housing. And while this is roughly 42 units, it probably goes to 50 with the affordable housing. That's 50 additional single family residences on property that is already served by all the utilities, all the infrastructure, all the roadways. It's what we need. It's the right thing to do. This application is about cleaning up little patches that resulted from many years of rezoning and general plan amendments. This will make it so that one party can develop this as a cohesive R6 residential, single family residential property. That's what the application is about. Joel has done an excellent job in his report, and he's done that throughout the entire case. It is an extraordinary piece of work. I'm sure you guys recognize the quality of work. We agree that we've met the criteria. And I would stand for any questions you might have on behalf of the applicant.
Oh, and then we'll get back to and we'll resume the public hearing. And if should there be any questions, we'll make sure to call you up. But I would say sit just close in case there are any questions, Mr. Summer. Any other members of the public in chamber? Not seeing any, Madam City Clerk, is there any members of the public online that would like to participate in the public hearing?
If there are any members in the Zoom room that would like to speak to this public hearing, please raise your virtual hand. No hands have been raised, Mayor.
Okay, with that being said, we will now turn to the governing body for any questions of the applicant or comments? Sure, Counselor Cassett.
Thanks, Mayor. Just a quick clarification. Joel, I think you said you listed the various uses and it had a child care or daycare facility as a conditional use. I believe that's not correct in an R6, and I just want to make sure because Dan, maybe I need you for this. I think the only place that conditional use is required for daycare is industrial. Dan, am I remembering my legislation correctly?
More than happy to pull up the code just so we're all on the same page as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Just came down.
Madam Chair, we'll have to.
Okay. You know, it's not relevant to this case. I just thought maybe we get an answer super fast. We're not going to. That's fine. If you could get back to me, that'd be fabulous.
And I know that our code hasn't caught up with some of the state.
Well, that was the legislation we passed here at the city that said daycare of any size is, allowed by right in any zoning district with the exception of industrial.
That is true.
We did have to go back and change industrial to conditional use. So is that?
That is true
Okay.
in the residential district.
Okay, great. Wonderful. That was all. Sorry to take the time. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Counselor. Any other questions? Counselor Garcia.
Thank you, Mayor Garcia. The only question I really have in regards to this parcel overall is the connection to, so the development that was on Kate's Way on the other side of the school that has the connecting road that comes across behind. At what point will that be completed? Because this looks like it's all going to get developed out. And that was a big, I think, part of approving development there. So individuals have the ability not just to come out onto the South Meadows corridor, but also exit the other way. And so is there going to be connection from this property at some point? I mean, I know that's not relevant to really the rezoning issue, but the eventual development of the parcel and the rest of the parcels at some point. And so we have to take it kind of holistically because we're putting a lot of stuff on this road and it does have easy access to 599, which is great. I think that's the biggest portion, but at what point would that be given the access to, I don't know what the road is called, but one that you showed undeveloped that already has the curbing in place?
Mayor Garcia, Counselor Garcia. When this application was sent to DRT, when that road was to be developed was not answered through our streets. Through that, it did not come up. However, this site will have to have access through Alameda Frontage Road. If they want to get there, the applicant can work with the land use division to outright develop portion of that road. We have financial guarantees in place if that's what they need to do. I don't know specific contracts, agreements, whose responsibility is to finish that road right now. So simply put, I don't know, but when a development comes, whether it's that specific C2 zone or development at the end of this parcel, it will be addressed.
Thank you. And if I can recall correctly, that was part of the conditions of getting an approval on that previous plot was to complete that frontage road out access. You can look back at the development. I mean, obviously it was in our district before I was a counselor, but on the planning commission at the time, remembering some of this stuff. And so obviously that's going to be a very important access point for all of that area as it develops. So just a point.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments from the governing body? Sure. If not, well, we've moved beyond public hearing, right? Okay, well, we'll formally close the public hearing and now we'll move on to any final questions or comments from the governing body. Counselor Casa.
Thanks so much, Mayor. Just while we are looking at the rewrites of our processes, I would prefer in the future that if the future land use map says that something should be occurring, that we align our underlying zoning code with it so that this piece of the process does not have to occur. So just for notes of those individuals in the room that are involved, well, actually some of us sponsors, is that when we're looking at our land use process and how long it takes, this is one of those pieces that policy already says that this should be R3 to R7. And so let's figure out a way that we don't have to go through all of these processes for everybody when that policy decision has already been made. So just a general comment. Thank you.
What's the will of the body?
Mayor Garcia, may I?
Sure, absolutely.
I just want to follow, Mayor Garcia, Mayor Garcia, Councilor Cassett. I just want to follow up on your question about daycares. For in-home daycare, that is a permitted use throughout the entire city. For daycare facilities, in our code specifically, it does require conditional use, but we will address that through our phase 2 code text update. So thank you for that. And thank you for your previous comment.
Thank you for clarifying that for me. I appreciate it.
For sure.
Anything else? What's the will of the body?
Mayor?
Yeah, Counselor Garcia.
I'd like to move to approve case number 2025-10766, adopt a resolution for a general plan amendment, the future land use map to change plus or minus 0.7 acres of land from very low density to low density by parcels 99312118, 99312180, located at 2780 South of the Road.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, Madam City Clerk, can we get a roll call vote, please?
Yes, Mayor, Counselor Bustamante,
Yes.
Counselor Cassett,
Yes.
Counselor Castro,
Yes.
Counselor Faulkner,
Yes.
Counselor Figali,
Yes.
Counselor Garcia,
Yes.
Counselor Barrett.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Okay, thank you. Move on to consideration of bill number 2026-15. What's the will of the body?
Move to approve.
Um,
Need to read the whole caption. All right, move to approve a resolution amending the general plan, future land use map from very low density to low density, approximately 0.27 acres of land.
Hold on one second. We just did that one.
Oh, so we need to do A? Yep. This is B that I'm reading right now. Okay, sorry, no worries. I'll go back, rescind any half motions I made, and I would like to move to approve the bill rezoning approximately 7.01 acre tract of contiguous parcels 910000872 9931210 9931281 located at 2780 South Meadows Road from R3 to R6.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, Madam City Clerk, can we get a roll call vote, please?
Yes, Mayor, Counselor Cassett,
Yes.
Counselor Castro,
Yes.
Counselor Faulkner,
Yes.
Counselor Figali,
Yes.
Counselor Garcia,
Yes.
Counselor Barrett,
Yes.
Counselor Bustamante.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Okay, thank you. Next item on the agenda, please.
Next item on the agenda is 21 appointments. 21A is appointment to the Santa Fe River Commission. Jesse Shapiro filling an unexpired term ending February 2028.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
We've got a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, Madam City Clerk, can we get a roll call vote, please? Oh, she froze again.
Mayor Garcia, I will take over for this
Oh.
one.
She's unfrozen. She's
Oh,
unfrozen.
okay.
So,
I will hand the reins back to our city clerk then.
okay. So Madam City Clerk, you just read the approval. This is for the Santa Fe River Commission. There was a motion to approve and a second. So if we can get a roll call vote on this one, please.
Counselor Castro,
Yes.
Counselor Faulkner,
Yes.
Counselor Figali,
Yes.
Counselor Garcia,
Yes.
Counselor Barrett,
Yes.
Counselor Bustamante,
Yes.
Counselor Classic.
Yes.
Motion passed. Next item is 21B. It is appointments to the Metropolitan Redevelopment Commission. Danica Padilla, appointment filling an unexpired term of January 2027. Justin Martin, appointment filling an unexpired term of January 2027.
Motion to approve.
Second.
And we got a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, Madam City Clerk, can we get a roll call vote, please?
Counselor Faulkner,
Yes.
Counselor Figali,
Yes.
Counselor Garcia,
Yes.
Counselor Barrett,
Yes.
Counselor Bustamante,
Yes.
Counselor Classic,
Yes.
Counselor Castro.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Oh, we're almost there. All right, Madam
Mayor, the
City.
next item on the
Oh,
agenda is item C, appointments to the Planning Commission. We have Catherine Rivera, appointment to District 1, term ending 6/2028. Peter Smith, reappointment to District 2, term ending 6/2028. Sasa McGee, reappointment District 3, term ending 6/2028. Sean Noonan, reappointment to District 4, term ending 6/2028, and Brian Gutierrez, appointment to at-large term ending 6/2028.
Move to deny?
Second.
Okay, so we got a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion?
I do have some discussion on the motion. I know that we vote on these appointments in slates. That's for convenience. We don't have to do that. So if there is a discussion about a appointee that we may have issues with, we don't have to vote the whole slate down. We could actually pull individual appointments out and discuss those.
Sure. And just for the record, I just want to make sure that the proposed appointment of Sean Noonan is for an appointment, not a reappointment. Just for the record. Okay, Counselor Castro.
So I just want to address why I made the motion to deny. I can only speak for myself, but I am a little concerned with some of, in particular, the District 1 appointment having folks with expertise in this field. I'm looking at, and this is a bigger conversation about what we want on our boards and commissions. I'm currently looking at CDC having requirements of being able to read a pro forma, spots for architects and planners, because we really need these commissions and committees to have expertise. So I am leaning on the fact that our current District 1 representative does have that. And my understanding is that there's folks that are willing to continue. And also we've gotten emails from folks who have applied with that expertise. So that's why I made that motion. Thank you, Mayor.
Sure. And so based on that since I'm the person who's making the proposed appointment, that's not a criteria for appointment. And so I understand where the feedback is coming from, but if folks would like to have specific skill sets for a specific district, et cetera, happy to amend the ordinances to require as such, but that is not the requirement right now. Any other comments or feedback? Hearing none, Madam City Clerk, can we get a roll call vote, please?
Yes, Mayor.
Sorry.
Counselor Barrett,
And so,
Just to clarify, this is a motion to deny. So if we vote yes, that these folks do not get appointed. If we vote no, then potentially they could.
Okay, sorry. I'm confused right now. Can somebody so if, okay, this,
You vote in the affirmative, Counselor, you're saying no to all the appointees in this item.
can
If
I ask a clarifying question?
sure.
Counselor Faulkner just stated that we could go one by one through these appointees. Is that correct?
We would have to make a separate motion after this one.
We have to vote on this motion and then a separate motion. Is that correct?
Correct. So if,
Okay.
and let me clarify, to go the path that Counselor Faulkner is suggesting, there would be a complete separate motion. Individuals can go one by one, say, I move to approve person A. I move to approve person B.
Okay.
That's not the proposal before us. The proposal before us is to deny everybody. And so if you vote in the affirmative, you would vote to deny everybody.
No.
Counselor Bustamante,
No.
Counselor Cassett,
No, I'd like to explain my vote.
Counselor Castro,
Yes.
Counselor excuse me, Counselor Faulkner,
No.
Counselor Fagali,
Yes.
Counselor Garcia.
No.
The motion to deny the appointments has failed.
Okay, I'll entertain any other additional.
I'll make a motion that we take each appointee.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So I make what's the first one? I make a motion to approve the appointment of Catherine Rivera.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Counselor Cassett.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. I would echo some of the concerns that were brought up. I have Ms. Rivera on EDAC, and she is phenomenal when it comes to economic development. She's brilliant. I appreciate how her mind works and the way that she looks at these issues. My concern has to do with where we are and the role that Planning Commission is currently going to be playing in the code update. And while it is absolutely not a requirement, there are some highly, highly qualified, experienced individuals in land use who are interested in serving in this position. And for me, given the current time that we're in with the code and general plan update, I think that experience is very valued, but I did, want to put it out there because I have so much respect for Ms. Rivera and everything that she has brought to the city, everything she brings to EDAC. And it is, I am not supporting this appointment, and that's challenging for me because of how much I appreciate her. But again, given where we are with land use and the role that Planning Commission is going to play, I think at this moment in time, increasing the experience of people in this field is more necessary than before. Thank you.
Counselor Garcia.
Thank you, Mayor Garcia. I would like to advocate for Catherine Rivera's appointment. Knowing Ms. Rivera over quite a few years now, especially attending many meetings of the code rewrite and her engagement with a multitude of city meetings, I believe that she is definitely qualified. Not to mention her resume, but her not just that, but her engagement in going to. I mean, I show up at a meeting and it's like, oh, Catherine's there. So definitely has been engaged, and I think she would be a very qualified candidate to, nothing against anyone else, but I think that she would serve well. Thank you.
Sure. And so again, just let me give some additional context as the person who's making these appointments, and definitely take these appointments very seriously. I think we've got two governing body members now that didn't, I would argue to say that their extensive history of land use was learned at the Planning Commission. So again, it is not a prerequisite. If folks would like that to be a prerequisite, then I would encourage to change the law. In addition, as we worked through this process, there were recommendations that were being made on behalf of staff. It was noted that we are going through a very heavy lift of looking at the updates that will be before not only the Planning Commission, but also the technical working group as well. And I do want to confirm for everybody that this appointment was recommended by city staff. So city staff has confidence that this individual has the experience and background needed to be a planning commissioner. So with that, any other further comment? Yes.
Yes, okay, sorry. Can we also know, like, when we go through all of these appointments, can it also be noted if city staff recommended them?
Sure.
That would be
And
helpful for
I'll
me.
do this.
Okay.
I'll go over it all right now. So every position except for Mr. Noonan was recommended by city staff. And the only reason why Mr. Noonan, that position, there was no recommendation is because as we begun the whole planning commission process, there was a vacancy in District 4. And so staff moved forward and provided recommendations based off of the recruitments that were made at that moment. So with that being said, that is why for 4 of these positions, which is what we worked with land use staff on originally, there are recommendations, and I did move forward with the staff recommendations. It is the position of Mr. Noonan where that came up last minute, and it's because of the heavy lift of the Planning Commission. And instead of going through a whole new process, we had applicants and candidates that put their name in the hat for District 4. And I felt Mr. Noonan, again, was the best suited candidate to move forward in this role.
Yeah.
So, yes, Councillor Faulkner.
One thing I would offer my fellow counselors, Counselor Garcia and I served on the Planning Commission. I served on it for 7 years. The Planning Commission never, I think like once or twice, it had a full body. The rest of the time we were down 3 members. So it's very hard to get people to want to be on the Planning Commission. And so I just want to, I'm not trying to influence any votes. I'm just saying that part of what goes into picking appointments is that it's either a person or nobody. So in some cases.
Mayor, just a quick clarifying question.
Sure.
How many applications did we get for this round?
In total or per district, can you clarify?
Both.
So in total, it was close to 40, if I'm not mistaken. I don't have the list right in front of me. And for District 4, I believe there was 4 or 5 candidates that applied for District 4. So.
Sorry, and I just asked because I didn't know the numbers, but I heard that it was a pretty robust application process. So that's great. Thank you.
That is new and exciting, honestly. But okay.
Any further discussion? Okay, let's get a roll call vote on the approval of Catherine Rivera for appointment to District 1.
Yes, Mayor. Counselor Bustamante,
Yes.
Counselor Cassett,
Pass for a moment, please.
Counselor Castro,
No.
Counselor Faulkner,
Yes.
Counselor Fagali,
No.
Counselor Garcia,
Yes.
Counselor Barrett,
Yes.
Counselor Cassett,
Yes, and I'd like to explain my vote. I don't-
the motion to approve the appointment of Kathy Rivera has passed.
Okay, Counselor Cassett to explain your vote.
Thank you, Mayor. As I just said, I struggled with this one a lot, mostly because, to the point around, counselors Garcia and Faulkner and all they have learned, through this. And again, this is an individual that I have seen to be a very, intelligent and somebody who is able to really learn a lot. I do think that we are at a really precarious place with our code. And that does, I'm not sure how we move forward with this with the planning commission, because they are going to have a really big role, and understanding the role of planning commission and that it is not a policy-making body. I think that that's going to be something to look at. And I'm looking towards the back of the room, towards Mr. Esquivel around, who's assigned to the TOG and the COG, or now it's just the TOG. The technical working group is going to be really crucial. And so I'm going to want to have a lot of conversations about that. And I think that some of the individuals that applied for this that were not selected, their expertise we cannot lose as we move forward with planning commission or with code update. So thank you.
All right, make a motion to approve the reappointment of Peter Smith and Sasha McKee.
Second.
Okay, so we've
We can make motions for whatever we want. I'm like, I make a motion that we fly to the moon. Just
Okay,
kidding.
so just to clarify, this is the motion to approve the appointment of Peter Smith and Sasha McGee. Reappointment of both of these folks. Any discussion?
Lee Garcia. Or Jamie.
Okay, any discussion? Hearing none? Oh, sure.
Let's just vote.
Okay, can we get a roll call vote, please, Mr. Assistant City?
My apologies, Mayor. I am ready to go. Counselor Cassett,
Yes.
Counselor Castro,
No.
Counselor Faulkner,
Yes.
Counselor Fagali,
Yes.
Counselor Garcia,
Yes.
Counselor Barrett,
Yes.
Counselor Bustamante.
Yes.
The motion to appoint Peter Smith and Sasha McGee has passed.
Motion to approve the appointment of Brian Gutierrez.
Second.
Okay, so we've got a motion and a second for the appointment of Brian Gutierrez. Any discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Assistant City Clerk, can we get a roll call vote, please?
Yes, Mayor. Counselor Castro,
No.
Counselor Chavez. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. Counselor Faulkner,
Yes.
Counselor Fagali,
Yes.
Counselor Garcia,
Yes.
Counselor Barrett,
Yes.
Counselor Bustamante,
Yes.
Counselor Cassett.
Yes.
The motion to appoint Brian Gutierrez to the at-large position has been approved.
Motion to approve the appointment of Sean Noon.
Sean Noonan. Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, Madam or Mr. Assistant City Clerk, can we get a roll call vote, please?
Yes, Mayor. Counselor Faulkner,
Yes.
Counselor Fagali,
No.
Counselor Garcia,
Yes.
Counselor Barrett,
No. And I'd like to explain my vote after.
Counselor Bustamante,
No.
Counselor Cassett,
No.
Counselor Castro.
No.
The motion to appoint Sean Noonan to, District 4 has failed.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Assistant City Clerk. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and move forward and bring a new appointment during our next governing body meeting. And so to explain your vote,
All right, I just think he wasn't able to be like properly vetted by city staff.
his
that-
application was reviewed by city staff. It
Okay.
absolutely was.
Maybe I misunderstood. I thought you said that though they were all recommended except for,
So what had happened was, as we took on the applications, there were certain positions that were open. District 4 did not have an opening. There were recommendations made for the openings that were open at that time. District 4 was kind of a last minute opening due to a recent resignation. And to ensure that we have a full board, and given, as Councillor Faulkner noted, the attendance issues, and even if we look at what happened during one of the most contentious cases recently, it was very poorly attended, and it required the board chair to jump into it. And so it's my priority to form a board that is full and we don't run into a capacity issue again. So with that, I think our agenda is complete. We stand adjourned. Thank you, everybody.